Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm Kenyon.
I'm Lucy, and very proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm Amanda. What year is it? I have a Bonorama t-shirt on. I have no bra on. I did brush my teeth. I did not change out of anything that I slept in. I'm fine.
I am feeling my teeth sweaters right now because I have not brushed my teeth. I did brush my hair today, though, so that's big.
I like that.
You haven't brushed your teeth today.
No, it's 7 p.m. my time. And I've already had
too late at
half
this point.
a bottle of Prosecco and have not brushed my teeth.
You know
Get
what?
it.
You're living your best life.
I love
it's
it.
like you're
Okay.
interacting with the public today.
I know. I haven't left my house. What do I fucking care?
I think I brushed my teeth at 4 p.m. Just before 4 p.m. I went on a Zoom that it was just to watch. It was like a conference about the upcoming Chauvin trial. But it's not like anyone would even see my face. And I was still like, I should brush my teeth for this Zoom.
Oh, I thought about brushing my teeth for this episode recording, and like I should have because they are kind of bothering me because they're so gross. But then I was like, well, I want to drink, and I don't want to ruin the taste of the Prosecco with toothpaste taste.
You
That's
made the
fair.
right call for
That's
sure.
fair.
I think so.
You definitely made the right call.
Full disclosure, I brushed my teeth before noon today, but it's
What?
only
Oh,
because I haven't
good
been
for
to the
you.
dentist in a year.
Well, yeah. COVID.
I mean,
Unless my
mine are
teeth are hurting me, I'm not going to go until after I'm vaccinated.
I did go actually in South Africa before we left, and it was COVID, but we were on such strict lockdown that it felt
You survived. You're fine. You don't have
Okay.
to explain it. It's a medical
You're
thing.
fine.
it was a medical
Anyway,
thing.
now
It was
that
the
we're all
60s.
caught up
Oh,
on each
wait.
other's dental history.
Okay, so this week we have a very special fan pick brought to you by Mackenzie Moore. More. How do you like it? How do you like
It was the 60s.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you, Mackenzie.
It was the 60s. It was the 60s.
And Mackenzie has selected the topic of it was the 60s crimes.
And
It was the 60s.
it
It was the 60s.
was the
Oh,
60s.
the 60s were bonks. And we'll get to it in my segment, but like, fuck. We thought 2020 was bad. This was like a
Y'all.
decade of 2020s.
A lot of
Mackenzie-
shit went down.
also made the mistake of not designating what century
Oh no.
they wanted. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. But I came this fucking close to
But
doing
also,
the
like,
1860s.
The 1760s were kind of gnarly
They were lit.
too. They were lit.
Yeah.
All
I mean, the
60s.
1860s.
I should have
fucking
just
the
done
Civil
year,
War.
year 60.
All
60
60s.
AD.
The year 60.
The year 60.
60 BCE.
That would have been good. Next time.
Oh my God. All right. Well, that's my part. Amanda, what's our wine crime pairing?
Let me take this off your hands for a minute.
Thank you.
I know that our amazing fan picker wanted me to get Fish Hippie, which is a wine brand, but I was not able to find it locally, and I did not get my shit together early enough to order it in time. So I am sorry, but check it out. It sounds great, but I'm not drinking it. Instead, I am featuring Winc Wine Club's Cowtown White Blend, because the 60s was literally the Wild West era for like serial killers and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So I was like, fuck it. This is
and child kidnappers.
there it is. And I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll get to it. Civil unrest, political movements. It was
A
the Wild
lot
West.
of
We'll
a
get
lot of
to it.
hippies went to India where cows are revered.
There it is.
Ooh, okay.
The
Full
Beatles.
circles back. The
More
Beatles.
cowbell. Cowbell featured in 60s era rock and roll
Music.
bands.
Fringe, leather fringe.
Oh, so much fringe.
All right.
Anyway, it fits.
It totally fits. It fits a ton.
It does. Quick reminder, as I cradle this like my baby, like I like to do, that Winc Wine Club is an amazing online wine club that delivers wine straight to your door. That's where I received this bottle from my front stoop.
I have a few of that one, and it's
good.
So pretty. People are always like, that's a gorgeous label.
Yeah, she cute. For the
cute.
listeners who are on Patreon, I am exposing it and myself to the video camera. So if you haven't checked out Winc yet, you should. And it is amazing. They switch up their inventory all the time. They have really cool deals. If you become a member, they make recommendations for you. You get member pricing, but you can always just go to their website, buy stuff a la carte. It totally works for whatever you need. And if it's your first time buying from Winc, use that promo code GALS at trywinc.com/gals to get $20 off your first box. And if you put 4 or more wines in there, they take care of the shipping.
It's a miracle.
How generous.
It is so generous.
Like,
it's the
this
best.
is the sign that we live in modern times, that you can have wine delivered to your door.
Yeah, and when you're a member, they just anticipate what your needs are and just auto order based on your preferences for you. And so I'll just forget, and then wine will appear. And
Also,
I'll kiss the ground.
When you go to the liquor store to buy wine, you tend to buy the same wines. So why not make it a lot easier?
Get out of your rut.
Yeah.
And a lot of Winc's wines are more, even more affordable than
Oh, yeah.
wines at a wine store.
Oh, we'll get to it because we're about to talk about this Cowtown white blend, which shows notes of white fruit, honey, and vanilla, making it the perfect bottle to grab for an easy drinking time. And the 60s was such an easy drinking time. And even better, with this little beauty, you are not paying big city prices. This white is one that you'll want to kick your boots off to enjoy. She retails for members at a mere $14. $13.99.
Oh, I love it. That's a great
That is such a great
That's a
price.
cowpoking good time.
Finger licking good. She clocks in at 13.6% ABV. You could drink her on a boat. You could drink her in a moat. And it's a cracker, so you don't even actually need your nice pop wine key, but you might just want to have it on hand just in case a serial killer tries to kill you and you need to stab them.
And we do have other merch, but we just always rep the wine key.
Well, yeah, in the wine segment. Gotta rep the wine key in the wine
We have
segment.
a shitload of other merch. So if you haven't visited our online store at wineandcrimepodcast.bigcartel.com anytime recently,
Go take some merch off our hands. We're basically hoarders.
yeah, go take a gander.
It's becoming a problem.
Yeah.
Shall we crack?
Let's
do
it.
Here we go.
Oh, that was
You like
a
how when
hearty crack.
When I exert myself, my chin just melts into my neck.
It helps out.
It fortifies me.
You turn into Big Ed.
Yes. Oh, I am drinking out of a Plan Ahead Salt Your Dad rocks glass.
Nice.
Oh, which
So-
have also been flying off the shelves.
Ooh, this smells good.
Makes me so happy.
All right. Well, cheers.
Ooh, she tasty.
Yummer.
Nice and dry.
I got another black cherry white claw because
Got to.
I like
Pop
why
this in
not?
my work fridge.
your work fridge.
I need to get one.
You really
It's
do.
time.
Label your lunches, people.
I don't have to. They're all mine. And there is no food in this fridge, and this fridge is full.
And no one cares if you microwave a tuna sandwich in there.
Oh, Jesus. I
Someone
care.
cares.
Yeah. Someone somewhere always cares.
I'm just saying, like a work fridge.
All right. So, La, what is our background and hopefully psych for It Was the 60s?
No psych.
Yeah, well,
I haven't been
psychedelic.
given. Well, yes. I'll say that I did a lot of 60s hippie research when we did our hippie homicides show in San Francisco when we were on tour in 2019.
That was
That's
awesome.
true. That was a fun and rowdy as fuck show.
That was
We
a
were
rowdy
not
as fuck
expecting
show.
the San Fran folks to be as turnt as
Oh.
y'all were.
Y'all
hurt.
pulled through.
Like,
It
I
was
can't believe we didn't have to,
wild.
like, have security push people away.
It very easily could have turned into, what was it, the Rolling Stone? What happened?
Oh, we'll get to it.
yeah.
Honey, we'll
Okay,
get to it.
Okay.
Because I know Amanda covered that
Literally
in that
covered
episode.
that case.
But was it that? No, that was Music Fest
The
Crimes. That was
Speedway?
Oh,
awesome.
yeah, it might have been.
It was
Something.
something starts with A, Speedway. We'll get to it. It's literally in my notes. Okay.
Areola
REO
Speedway.
Speedwagon.
There she is. There's my girl.
Anyway. Areola Speedwagon. Okay. The 1960s, aka the 60s, was a decade of the Gregorian calendar that began on January 1st, 1960 and ended on December 31st, 1969.
Was it a leap year?
Yes.
Very important.
You would have had at least 2 leap years within, right? Yeah, you would have had at least
within
2
the
leap
decade,
years
'cause
within
it's
a decade.
not a year.
Oh,
Thank you.
that makes sense. I was like, don't ask me. I don't know anything about time. What am I, a watch?
It's fairly predictable, and yet we're mystified. So when we talk about the 60s, we are more often talking about the cultural period that began around 1963 with the assassination of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, God rest his soul, and ended around the resignation of douche canoe Nixon in 1974.
It's interesting how the swing went from one of our most attractive presidents to one of our least attractive presidents so quickly.
Well,
I wonder if there are any more recent versions
Examples
of something
of such.
occurring like that in
Yeah.
the United States.
Yep.
God,
I'm still recovering.
I think Barack is hands down
Fine.
the most attractive president we've ever had.
Definitely top 5.
And I can
Joe
vouch.
Biden was pretty hot a billion years ago.
Yes, 180 years ago.
I don't know. I'm a John Quincy Adams gal.
I'm gonna look at all the presidents.
You need to look at John Quincy Adams.
List of U.S.
Is he the one who had the
presidents'
beard all the way down his face?
portraits?
What's sticking in my mind about the Quince, as I call him, is the nose. And
Okay.
also, remember when it was like, I don't remember when this was, a couple of years ago, there was a fad where there was this like specific art museum, like very famous art museum that you could, that made an app.
Yes.
That you could like put your face on it and it'll be like, what painting from history do you look like? And mine was a presidential portrait of John Quincy Adams. Was the most similar to my face, according to that app.
I have got to show. I just came across this yesterday. I did Corey, my husband. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who is it?
It's not a famous, it's just a famous person. It's a famous painting. It's called After the Luncheon by
that is
Auguste
Corey.
Renoir.
Taking a nap.
I'll put
That
this on the
is
drive.
Corey.
John Quincy Adams looks a lot like Amanda's dad.
Yeah.
And
But-
also
and
Michael
yet she's
Phelps
super
should
attractive.
play Abraham Lincoln in the world's most boring movie.
Hear that, Hollywood? Take notes.
Oh my God,
Zachary
I'll put these
Taylor
on
was
the
pretty
drive.
cute.
Can we move on? Because I've
Yeah,
gotten 2
I'll
sentences
just
out.
interject.
Us moving on is Kenyon will just quietly be scrolling through presidents throughout your entire section.
Fair.
I'm almost done. Honestly, it's Barack Obama and Zachary Taylor. I got nothing else. Not into any of the rest.
JFK was a cutie.
He was such a
His
misogynist.
eyes were
Well, yeah,
kind of
they're
far
all
apart,
men.
but
LBJ
he was-
had a big dick.
Sure.
you know.
What?
Do
If
I
that's
know?
a well, that's a me and LBJ.
You,
Don't make me.
Is that why they call
don't
them
make me kiss and
BJs?
tell.
I gave him a blowy in high school.
No,
He
he's
never
well
came.
known to have had a big dick and to like whip it out at like urinals, like intimidate lawmakers and
well,
stuff.
I clearly have not brushed up on that corner of presidential history. So
Did the
thank
B
you
stand
for
for
that.
baloney?
My
Okay.
God.
Lyndon Big Dick Johnson.
Ick. Okay.
God.
So this is a quote from Wikipedia. Quote, the term the 60s is used by historians, journalists, and other academics in scholarship and popular culture to denote the complex of interrelated cultural and political trends around the globe during this era. Some use the term to describe the decade's counterculture and revolution in social norms about clothing, music, drugs, dress, sexuality, formalities, and schooling. So that was the shit that I talked about in our hippie homicides crime. So I did not really go into hippies because there is so much fucking more to the 60s.
Yep.
Others use it to denounce the decade as one of irresponsible excess, flamboyance, and the decay of social order. The decade was also labeled the swinging 60s because of the fall or relaxation of social taboos that occurred during this time, but also because of the emergence of a wide range of music, from a folk music revival to the Beatles revolution. Ever heard of them?
No.
To the introspective lyrics of Bob Dylan and Paul Simon. Norms of all kinds were broken down, especially in regards to civil rights and precepts of military duty. So basically my segment today, I'm going to walk us through the loosely defined decade, one occurrence at a time.
Cool.
And our story starts. Oh, by the way, I will say there's a fuckload of shit that I left out because obviously.
Oh, wait, you can't cover an entire decade in complete detail in a 25 to 30 minute segment of a show that goes over 2 hours and then we want to just eat our own faces off?
Regretfully, no.
Okay, well, I will be leaving a strongly worded review.
Unsubscribe.
1 star.
Don't at
I hear they play this on repeat in Guantanamo Bay.
If only. That would so help our ad sales.
That, I want my tombstone
We
to
had
just...
that many extra downloads.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. I want that to be, that just as a
I'm not making fun of
hologram
torture.
as my
No.
tombstone. Is
Yes.
that review?
Yeah.
Is Guantanamo Bay still open?
Yes, but Biden did say that he wants to close it, although Obama also said that he was going to close it.
It's
and
been
hadn't.
said many times. It remains to be seen.
Okay.
We shall see.
TBD.
We'll see. TBD. Okay.
Lyndon
Our
D.
story begins with the end of the 1950s when Europe had largely wrapped up with post-war reconstruction, casually. World War II had practically leveled the social classes, and the post-war economic boom hugely expanded the middle class in Western Europe countries and the US. And like other countries, but in Eastern Europe, countries like the Soviet Union were also improving economically, and worldwide GDP growth began increasing on average 6% for the second half of the 20th century.
Wow.
So we're on a definite upswing here at the end of the 50s.
Sure.
So
okay.
everyone's got a little more money for the most part. Not everyone, obviously, but
White
worldwide
people.
average.
Correct.
Well, globally, countries are doing better.
Sure.
Everyone's relieved that the war is over. We got a lot of new technology that we're all hyped about. So a lot of shit is changing all over the world. It's like really turning over into this new era at this point.
Women had been forced into the workforce. Now they're forced back into the home.
Uh-huh. Yep. Lots
the way
of shifts.
it's meant to be.
Lots of shifts.
I personally love being in the home.
Just not doing
But you're-
any of the
But your partner
housewiffery.
Oh, no.
partner also does all of the cooking and cleaning. So
He does do basically all of the cooking, though I have been upping my game on some of the cleaning, but some.
Yeah.
some. You know what?
I don't want to give him too much and then have him, like, expect that from me.
Good call.
Okay, so
I'm
beginning
no
in
idiot.
this is the year 1960. In February. Okay, also think of how recently the 60s was. It was
Yeah.
Our parents
60 years
have
ago.
memories
Our
of
parents,
this time.
yeah, were like fully functioning
61
young
years ago. This is
teens.
But like some of these, I just kind of want to preface, some of these things seem like they happened forever ago, and some of these things seemed like they happened yesterday. So it kind of blew my mind when I was going through this, like all these timelines. Okay. February, 4 black college students from Greensboro, North Carolina, staged a sit-in at a segregated Woolworth lunch counter, protesting their denial of service. This action caused a national campaign waged by 70,000 students, both white and black, over the next 8 months, and sit-ins across the nation for civil rights. Very beginning of the 60s is really when civil rights, activity and action,
activism,
really
took off.
Kicked it off. In March, South African police killed 69 black protesters in the Sharpeville massacre. I don't know a lot about that. Kenyon, do you know anything about that?
I don't know what sparked it. I just know that Sharpeville was a township, and under apartheid, black people were forced to live in townships, and where they could live was, super tightly segregated.
It's like reservations in the U.S.
Exactly.
Almost.
Yeah, exactly. And they had to have a passport basically to
leave that area.
Yeah, similar to slavery in the United States back in the day. You had to have a pass to travel from one area to another. It was the same thing. So I don't know what kicked off the Sharpeville massacre specifically, but there were a lot of, there was just so much police violence and just violence in general under apartheid.
So this kind of just gives a little bit of window into the unrest that was going on in South Africa, because South Africa also underwent a lot of revolutions in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in June, independence from Belgium starts a long civil war in the Congo. In September, the first televised presidential debate in the U.S. occurred between JFK and Nixon.
Back to the Congo real quick.
Okay.
So the Congo, DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, was actually poised to do quite well post-independence from Belgium, despite the fact that Belgium was one of the absolute worst colonizers to have ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrice Lumumba was a left-leaning, iconic politician and leader, and he was assassinated by the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and
yeah, you covered that, and you've covered that before.
Mm-hmm.
That kicked off the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So anyway.
So did he declare independence from Belgium, and then he was assassinated, and then that's when that started?
I don't think he declared independence from Belgium, but he was one of the first elected leaders of the country. I'm getting a little fuzzy, but he was one of the very first elected leaders, and he was young and promising and brilliant and
he's like their Fred Hampton.
Yeah. He was like
a young revolutionary
Yeah.
poised to do some serious mobilizing of the community and give power to the people.
And
Can't
he was
have
very
that.
he was smart about kind of leveraging like the Soviet Union against the US to try to get what he could for his country, but he wasn't like, a communist, and the CIA just fucking assassinated him. It's horrible.
CIA is awful, and we will get back to the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so September, first televised presidential debate. In November, the U.S. voters chose John F. Kennedy, the youngest elected president in history, in
And
U.S.
first
history.
Catholic, and Joe Biden is only the second Catholic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, not that I like Catholics, but that's a fun fact.
It's trivia.
Yeah.
Good old Catholic trivia.
And in December, an armed coalition of communists and insurgents emerged in South Vietnam, a.k.a. the Viet Cong. So that'll circle back at some point in the 60s,
That
I'm
old
sure.
can of worms.
That'll get that Pandora's backs.
Backs. Not a lot. 1961 was a little bit quieter. In April, Russia sends Yuri Gagarin into space in the first orbital flight. There's a picture of Yuri on the drive. He had some questionable elements of his personal life, but he's kind of cute, and we have a matching
God.
scar on our left eyebrow. Just saying.
Oh.
Also in
buddies.
April,
Oh my God,
this-
you do.
Right? Also, according to his Wikipedia page, he got that scar because his wife caught him in a sexual liaison with a nurse, and to escape, he just leapt out of a second-story window and hit his head.
Sir.
It wasn't me. He comes home bleeding, pieces of glass stuck in his face. And he's
I got in a car accident.
You will not believe what happened
Say
to
it
me.
was day.
And I was not in that woman's apartment.
All right.
Okay.
When you come in the counter.
Also in April, the CIA funded the invasion of Cuba at the Bay of Pigs, and that failed.
The CIA was just on quite a tear.
The
And
CIA
they
was
just
on a fucking tear.
Suck.
Well, what was the episode that we recently did about Hoover?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Abuses of authority?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Kenyon covered
The fucking CIA
that
man.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
In August, the construction of the Berlin Wall began.
Mm-hmm.
Moving along to 1962, in March, Bob Dylan released his first album called Bob Dylan in the U.S.
Ever heard of it?
Dylan from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. So a girl that I worked with at ProX in Minnetonka, remember photo processing labs?
Yes.
That's where we worked together. Her mother went to high school with Bob Dylan.
That's wild.
And she brought in her yearbook, and I could see Bob's Dylan picture. And he
Cute.
signed
An
it.
ex of mine went to high school with Bob Dylan's kids. Or kid, I don't know. And met him several times at like school concerts.
Did
Can you imagine being like a middle schooler and having to perform at a musical concert
Stars and
in front
Stripes
of
forever
Bob
for
Dylan?
Bob Dylan.
I would not know who the fuck Bob Dylan was at
That's
that
true.
age.
I also, unpopular opinion, I'm not a fan of Bob Dylan's music.
I'm not a
so-
huge fan.
I like his earlier stuff, but his later stuff, when he started sounding like this, I don't like that.
Couple good songs. Zach
Yeah.
plays a lot of Dylan and
Ugh.
sings along.
Oh.
I've trained a certain partner out of playing Bob Dylan in my presence.
Yeah. There's
Next.
exactly 3 Bob Dylan songs that I
Yeah.
enjoy.
I can tolerate.
And that's only if no one's singing along to them.
Yep.
Who's
Yeah,
not
I'm
me.
sorry, I'm a Spice Girls gal.
Yeah? I'm a Fleetwood Macer myself.
Also
Oh,
hard
yeah.
same.
Okay, August of 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead from an overdose of sleeping pills. Still up in the air in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that was the same month that Nelson Mandela was arrested.
Mm.
In October, escorted by federal marshals, James Meredith became the first Black student to register at the University of Mississippi. And him even just going onto campus, there were like protesters and rioters. It was like a whole big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So God bless James Meredith. Also in October, the Cuban Missile Crisis began. In 1963, in February, we have the publication of The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan, which was a milestone which was a milestone in the U.S. women's movement. In March, the last 27 prisoners of Alcatraz, which was the island prison in the San Francisco Bay, were ordered to be removed by Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, and the federal penitentiary was closed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get back to Alcatraz. In June, Pope Paul VI succeeds PJ the 13th.
Wow.
The 23rd, I mean.
12.
So, yeah. Pope Paul VI. We got Pope Paul. We got JP the 6th. In August, Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech was delivered, which was a defining moment in the U.S. civil rights movement. In September, we have the formation of the Federation of Malaysia, which ignites the Indonesia-Malaysia confrontation. I don't know a whole lot about Malaysian history, but like
You
I
don't?
I also tried to just include like
Dare you?
all of these things.
I'm not inviting you to my
definitely
dinner party.
had a snowball effect on global politics. I don't
Okay.
fucking know how,
Okay, I don't know anything about that either.
but it happened.
I was once in the airport in Malaysia and went up to and like had a very long layover, but couldn't leave the airport and wanted to like buy things and thought that I had to have local currency, which like I probably didn't have to have local currency. But I went up to the currency trading window and was like, "Can I have whatever money you have here?"
I'll have what she's having.
Kuala Lumpur dollars. I don't know anything about this place.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Is that the airport?
No,
Is that the airport that has that huge like indoor garden? Like,
I don't remember. It was very clean and nice. I don't remember much.
okay, well, thanks for that information.
You're welcome.
Thank
Also,
you for that contribution.
Anecdote.
Completely unrelated, in November 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated in Texas. Okay, moving on to 1964. In January, Beatlemania hits the shores of the United States with the release of I Wanna Hold Your Hand.
Wow, it's crazy that Beatlemania was after the Kennedy
JFK's assassination.
I know.
Yeah.
It was the distraction the world needed.
Yeah.
So that song became the Liverpool group's first hit in North America, and 1 week later, their first U.S. album was released, which was called Meet the Beatles.
Wow.
I wish it was MEAT.
That would have been good.
MEAT, the BEETLES.
OMJ. Yes. Yes,
I
yes,
bet
yes.
that's been released. I bet someone's done that.
Kenyon meets every Beatle that scurries across her desk.
You do. You grind them to a halt.
I don't need to save the lives of an invasive species of insect.
Do you not notice that they stink when you smash them? That's why they're called stink bugs.
I haven't noticed any real stink, but we've
you have
already
COVID?
talked about my teeth brushing.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. So moving along to we're already in 1964. In February, Cassius Clay, a.k.a. Muhammad Ali, defeats Sonny Liston to become the world heavyweight boxing champion. In June, the U.S. Senate passes President Johnson's Civil Rights Bill.
President Big Johnson's Civil Rights Bill.
President Big Dick Johnson's Civil Rights Bill. In August,
Where's Quince when you need him?
In August, the Gulf of Tonkin incident occurred, in which the North Vietnamese are provoked into firing upon the American destroyer, the Maddox, leading to the escalation of American military commitment in Vietnam. And shortly thereafter, President Johnson orders the United States Air Force to bomb North Vietnam below the 20th.
He had a
Whatever
big dick,
thing.
and he did some good things with civil rights, but it was kind of like pulling teeth to make him do those things. And also,
he fucked Vietnam. Like,
yes, correct.
yeah. I mean,
Complicated history there.
where would you gauge Vietnam versus Iraq, like in our generation? I feel like Iraq was worse because it was way longer.
Well, in terms of deaths, I think, and civilian deaths, I think Vietnam would be way far and
True.
above. But unfortunately, there's terrible data.
Yeah.
Because
intentionally, there's terrible data.
Right, exactly. Like in terms of U.S. military deaths, Vietnam, 1,000,000%. But civilian deaths, I don't know, but I'm assuming Vietnam. But Iraq was also horrendous, so I don't know.
Ugh. Anyway, lots of parallels we could draw here.
Equally not good conflicts for us to have fucking gotten ourselves
Equally
into
as
in the first
unnecessary and
Yeah.
like misled. In October, we got Nikita Khrushchev's fall from power in the USSR. I know these names, I just don't say them very frequently.
I don't know these names, so
Khrushchev.
you're crushing it.
Khrushchev. Anyway.
Anatoly Movskin.
He dropped out of the USSR.
Yeah.
And in November, President Johnson, Big Dick Johnson, defeats Goldwater, so he won re-election, but really his first election
Correct.
by default. In 1965, we got in January, Winston Churchill dies.
Oh,
Old ass.
R.I.P. In March, President Big Dick Johnson sends the first U.S. ground troops to Vietnam, starting a dramatic increase in U.S. troop commitment. In August, we have race riots in the predominantly black Los Angeles neighborhood of Watts. So these are the Watts riots. After 6 days, at least 34 people are dead. In November, we have power failure blackouts in New York, parts of New England, and parts of Canada. And also in November, Ian Smith, the head of the white minority government in Rhodesia, made a unilateral declaration of independence from Britain, provoking economic sanctions. Again, don't know a lot about Rhodesia, but try to get some of these global economic...
Rhodesia is the modern Zimbabwe.
Oh,
Rhodesia
okay.
is the old name for it when it was under white control. It was called Rhodesia after Cecil Rhodes.
Okay.
And Rhodesia had a very similar, if not identical, system of apartheid as South Africa. But then when Zimbabwe became independent, they took a different track than South Africa took towards independence, and most white people left Zimbabwe. And so then that example of formerly Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, informed a lot of what happened with South Africa and why South Africa didn't go as far in terms of economic equality because they were afraid of like civil war and like the loss of investors and stuff. Anyway,
Okay.
I recently had a white guy in Kentucky tell me that he wanted to visit Rhodesia, and that told
Jesus.
me everything that I needed to know about him.
Okay. Well, I didn't know anything about it. I'm glad that you did, but it also makes sense. It kind of feeds into all of these global occurrences, revolutions. All
Was
this
it
crazy
during
shit.
the 60s New York blackouts that Son of Sam was at large, or was that
I think
later?
that was 70s.
I think that was
pretty
later.
sure
Oh, yep,
Son of Sam
you're
was
right.
70s.
You're right. Okay. I get confused.
But I'm sure, I mean, thinking of New York really before the 90s, like there was a lot of crime, you know, like so those blackouts in the 60s, I don't know a lot about them, but I'm sure it was
Not helpful.
a total clusterfuck.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like in the 60s. The 70s and 80s were pretty rough. I don't know.
Okay, moving on to 1966. In January, Indira Gandhi was elected Prime Minister of India, and she was the first and so far the only female Prime Minister of India. In March, the UK general election sees Harold Wilson's Labour Party returned with an increased majority, so like a big surge in the Labour Party in March of 66. In April, U.S. troops in Vietnam totaled 250,000, 250,000 troops.
Wow.
And Vietnam is not a large country. Like, our response to Vietnam was, like,
I mean, it was an intense occupation.
very
It was
intense.
a different way of waging war and one that we were not prepared and not suited for.
Yeah, for sure. In May, Chairman Mao of China, Mao's Cultural Revolution begins in China. Millions will be persecuted as he asserts his authority. That's the only thing I have here out of this timeline, but like
That's hella complicated.
hella complicated, and millions died. Like his China and Mao's shit in China, fucking
When was
crazy.
the Great Leap Forward? I think that was later. But that's when
This
millions
is
died of
May of
starvation.
66. But yeah, there was like famine, and the government didn't do anything about it, and like, you know, the one child policy and all these baby girls and
A lot
It's
of
a whole thing.
lot of not great stuff.
not great. In July, we get Medicare beginning, which was the
One
government,
bright spot.
Oh.
well, for a short period of time, which is the government medical program for citizens over the age of 65. In October of 1966, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale form the Black Panther Party in the U.S. And we also see the first public burning of a draft card occurring in protest to the Vietnam War. And it was coordinated by the anti-war group of students called the National Coordinating Committee to End the War in Vietnam.
It's a
So-
long name, and I love it.
NCCEWV. I feel like you could have come up with a better acronym.
Always
and maybe
be
there
branding.
was. Yeah, exactly. Okay, jumping to 1967. In January, Hippies attend the first human be-in at Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, which I think I talked about in my hippie homicides, which I also don't think that we've released as.
I don't think we have.
I don't think the sound quality was good enough. I don't think we can release it.
Yeah, I don't think we can release it. So,
yeah.
Sorry, hope you were there.
That's why you buy tickets to a live show whenever that can happen again.
Oh, God.
Also in January, the first Super Bowl was held in Los Angeles between the Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs. With Green Bay,
that is the darkest moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, and
the
world has
of the
been
60s.
garbage ever since.
And Green Bay won 35-10.
Get out.
Oh, that is really a dark time.
Bad time for humanity.
Seriously.
For Midwestern humanity.
Over 51 million people watched it on television.
Suffered, yes.
Suffered, yeah.
Died.
In March of 67, South Africa rejected the idea of a cricket series against the West Indies because it would involve non-whites.
Yeah, South Africa was just really great for a lot of decades.
South Africa was a fucking prick throughout a lot of the 20th century.
Yep.
Including the 60s.
Yep.
In April, Muhammad Ali was stripped of the world heavyweight boxing title, which I mentioned previously, for refusing to enter the U.S. Army.
Mm-hmm.
In June of 67, Israel attacked Egypt to start the Six-Day War. Again, something that I really don't know a lot about.
I basically know nothing about that either. I need to learn some Israeli history. I am very ignorant.
It was important. I'm sure. In July, civil war broke out in Nigeria. And also the Detroit race riots began. And after 4 days, 43 people were dead. Lots of race riots. Also lots of plane crashes and lots of earthquakes in the 60s. Which I didn't list all of those, but like.
It was going on.
There was probably just a lot more plane travel and like not a lot of
statistically
regulation.
Well, when we did our flight attendant crimes, I can tell you that like the 50s, 60s, like commercial travel for leisure, air travel for leisure was really picking up.
Yeah.
And just a lot of like globalization, lots of global events. Like one of the things that
the Super Bowl. It did kill people.
I don't think I added this in here, but I did read that the entire U.S. Olympic figure skating team was on an airplane going to the Olympics, I think in Berlin, and their plane went down and like 70-some people died.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Lots of plane crashes. Okay, in October of 1967, Che Guevara was killed in Bolivia, and Thurgood Marshall was sworn into office as the first Black Supreme Court Justice. In November, the first issue of Rolling Stone magazine was published.
Which we've been in.
On the cover.
No, we were not on the cover.
It was our rendition of the Britney Spears cover.
Oh, it was good.
Yeah. We're not so innocent. Also, save Britney. Free Britney. Okay. In December, the launch of full-color TV service was available in Britain's BBC Two channel. And also, Dr. Christian Barnard conducted the world's first heart transplant operation in Cape Town. And also in December, Otis Redding was killed in a plane crash.
A lot of plane crashes. Weird.
Lots of plane crashes. Okay, so 1968, gotta be honest, fucking sucked.
1968 is like it's like a catchphrase for a year of turmoil.
It's
the 2020 of the 60s.
Yeah.
You know what? At this point, I'm hesitant to even label 2020 as like the worst year of my life because like
it's too early to tell.
It's too early
we got
to
a
tell.
lot of life left to fuck up.
Things can get a lot worse.
It's going
has
to.
not been off to a great start.
No,
gonna be honest.
It's gonna get worse. Like, honey, I guarantee it.
I feel like we have another decade of the 60s on our hands.
Yeah, I feel like we are in our version of the 60s right now, which means that we have another 9 years of shit.
Gird your loins, baby.
Although we'll count the 4 years of Trump. So maybe we have 5 years of
chaos does not follow the Gregorian calendar. So maybe it started with Trump and maybe it'll end 2 years from now. Who knows? It might not be a full 10 years.
Right.
But we're in a period of bullshit for sure. Okay, 1968 in March, the My Lai massacre in Vietnam occurred, and between 347 and 504 unarmed Vietnamese civilians were murdered by U.S. troops, many of whom were raped and mutilated.
My God, I didn't realize it was that many.
Every time I read that statistic, it seems like more, but it's always obviously the same.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like a tenth of that, and that would still be a lot.
It was several villages.
Wow.
Unarmed. And the reason they went in, as far as I remember, the military thought that there were a bunch of Viet Cong and they had all those underground tunnels. Yes, they did. They had all those things. But they thought that this area of villages were like in on it and that they were like hiding weapons and blah, blah, blah. So they killed everybody and they found one weapon, like one gun. Anyway, I don't really want to linger on that because it's extremely depressing. And if you don't know about it, you should educate yourself about it because it's fucking awful. Okay, in April, we have the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In May, student protests and a general strike happen in France. But what else is new?
No, but this was really big.
This was a big one.
Really big. They
really love their
streets.
strikes.
They took over the campuses of universities, and they didn't have snipers, but they
fortified themselves.
It was a big deal.
What were they protesting?
That's a great question. I think part of it was definitely having co-ed dorms.
They were protesting co-ed dorms?
No, they wanted to have co-ed dorms, which they were not allowed to have. Beyond that, I don't know, but it was leftist students shutting shit down in France.
They love protesting and striking.
Yeah. But this was next level.
Okay. In June, we have the assassination of U.S. presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy. So he was shot at a hotel or whatever. He was giving his speech, and then he didn't die until the next day.
Yep.
But he died.
He had way even more potential than his brother John. He was
a rising fucking star. Yeah.
The fucking Kennedy family is so cursed.
Right?
Yeah.
In August, Czechoslovakia's experiments in democracy ended as Soviet tanks entered. Again, these are just little blips of world
and
events.
They wouldn't
I'm sorry,
be
I don't
free
know a whole
until
lot about this.
1996, I don't think.
Ugh, God. Also, we have the riots outside the Democratic Party convention in Chicago. And then in November, Nixon was elected.
Yay.
Which was just a cherry on top of a horrible year. In 1969, nice.
The best year.
January, Rupert Murdoch buys Britain's largest selling Sunday newspaper called News of the World. And Rupert Murdoch is a fucking rich beyond description.
I think he's finally dead. Maybe not.
I think he's dead. Doesn't matter. His whole family is fucking ugh.
The legacy will live.
In February, Yasser Arafat becomes the leader of the Palestine Liberation Organization. In April, British troops arrive in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland had their own
fucking can of worms. Jesus Christ!
All of these are cans of worms.
Mm-hmm.
We ate a lot of worms in the 60s.
Yeah.
Who's your worm guy?
Who is your worm guy?
You're paying
1960.
I hope he's working on commission.
Mm-hmm.
In June of 1969, we have the Stonewall riots in New York, marking the beginning of the gay rights movement. In July, Apollo 11's Neil Armstrong walks on the moon, but so did Buzz Aldrin.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another guy, I can't remember his name, in
Buzz
the
Lightyear.
ship.
Bugs Lightyear.
Woody.
To humidity and beyond.
Woody. Slinky dog.
Mr. Potato Head, and also like Little Bo Peep.
And also Mrs. Potato Head.
And that really great dinosaur.
Oh, I love that. Rex?
Yeah.
That's probably his name.
Rex.
All on the moon. All of them.
Oh,
In August of 69, we have the Woodstock Music Festival in New York, upstate New York.
Ever heard of it?
In September,
ever
John
lived in
Lennon.
it?
In September, John Lennon quit the Beatles.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Yoko. I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
In October, Monty Python's Flying Circus first screened on BBC TV.
And changed my father forever.
We loved Monty
We
Python.
were so into Monty Python.
He accumulated like every Monty Python branded thing you could get. We had like computer games. He downloaded this thing on our Gateway 2000 that turned the keyboard into like a Monty Python soundboard. So I would like sneak in and reset it so that every time he typed, it would be fart sounds. We had the weirdest Monty Python shit at our house. It was
Did he
iconic.
live to see Spam a lot?
Yes, we went and saw it. We went and saw it in theaters, and that was where he laughed so hard while simultaneously choking on M&Ms that in the live theater with assigned seats, people asked to be moved at intermission because he was disrupting their experience. That's how much he fucking loved it. I think we got him the tickets for Father's Day. And I remember at the time being like so thoroughly embarrassed.
Oh,
And then looking
what a
back
cherished
on it,
memory.
it's like
The best.
the best. Like, I'm so glad he got to experience such a moment of just unabashedly pure joy that he bothered other people because he was like so happy. So, yes, we did see
Fucking
Spam a
love
lot.
your dad. Okay, short answer, yes. Oh my God. Okay.
That was quite a day.
In November of 1969, Alcatraz Island, the former prison in San Francisco Bay, is occupied by 14 American Indians in a long standoff over the issues of Indian causes. I watched a documentary, or at least part of a documentary, about this occupation. It was
didn't know about
intense
that.
and it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend that. Also in November, the internet, which was then called ARPANET. Thank God they rebranded.
Algorpanet.
Algorpanet, is invented by the Advanced Research Projects Agency at the U.S. Department of Defense.
By Al
So,
Gore.
like, the internet was born in 1969.
That's bonks. Like, what I wouldn't give to go back to that time and experience the internet in its like first ever version.
I'd be like, do you have Animal Crossing?
They'd be like, alien, murder her.
I feel like the first ever version was basically basically just like a fax machine type
Yeah.
Pretty much.
situation.
And
Yeah.
the first computer was like as big as this room.
Right.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go to there.
But our little
so
internet
badly.
roots go all the way back to 69, which is mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here you go. In December of 69, the Altamont Speedway Free Festival erupted in violence, including the stabbing death of Meredith Hunter and 3 accidental deaths, 2 of which were caused by a hit-and-run car accident and 1 by an LSD-induced drowning in an irrigation canal.
Get after it.
Scores
The
were
60s.
injured. Scores were injured, which I thought I almost read as scones were injured, which like
Probably.
No.
too
Not the
much.
scones.
Scones were injured. Numerous cars were stolen and then abandoned, and there was extensive property damage. Like 300,000 people were there.
Yeah. Because we were so bored.
Yeah. Well,
Because the internet
everyone
was
just wanted to like
Only faxes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 69. And like I said, some shit went down after the 60s. So in early 1970, Well, in 1970, a couple things happened that was like the death knell of the 60s, including Paul McCartney quitting the Beatles and then subsequently filing a suit to dissolve the band. So, like, the Beatles were done.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. invades Cambodia, and 4 students were shot dead by the Ohio National Guard at Kent State University in Ohio while protesting said invasion of Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't realize that was 1970 because it's just so ingrained in my mind as part of the 60s.
Right.
It was 1970. So that is my segment, and it was just to kind of give an overview of the fucking crazy ass shit that was going down in that decade, and a little bit before and a little bit after, but just like, ugh.
A lot. Well done. I mean,
Thanks.
damn. I'm getting turnt in this episode. John, leave it in.
Good.
So, I feel like it has been a while since I've done a truly dark case.
Yes.
Oh, God.
So, we're going.
I've kind of been itching for you to just get real dark.
Me too. So, we're going back to my roots, and it's a truly dark case. But there are moments of interest besides just it being so dark. So,
Okay.
Ira Einhorn, whose last name in German means one horn or unicorn.
Ooh. Why does this remind me of Ace Ventura?
Pet detective.
Ventura? Yeah.
I don't know.
Fickle and Einhorn. Laces out.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay. Never mind. Different. Unrelated. It's fine.
So, Ira Einhorn, Ira Unicorn, was born on May 15th, 1940, into a middle-class Jewish family in Pennsylvania. He graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 1961 with a degree in English. And for a time, he seemed like a real smarty pants, and he was going to pursue a career in academia. He spent a year teaching English at Temple University, but his contract was not renewed after he admitted to having, quote, contempt for the academic world, which does not get you tenure.
That doesn't jive with tenure. No.
Not great.
And the fact that he had devoted many of his classes to telling his students about the, quote, delights and dangers of LSD.
Okay, he would have been my favorite professor on
You
Rate
don't
My
like him,
Professor.
though.
Delights
like him.
and dangers of liking this guy.
Delights and dangers of being anywhere near this monster.
Okay.
So Ira began fully devoting himself to numerous, it was the 60s, counterculture movements.
Okay.
In his own words, he was a, quote, planetary enzyme, far watcher and advance man for the countercultural revolution.
Ish.
Okay, so he's a total douchebag.
Planetary enzyme. I want that on my fucking gravestone.
Amanda gets, they play this at Guantanamo.
There's
She
a
was like
rumor.
a friend to us,
She was like a friend.
and I get planetary enzyme.
Get it.
Okay.
We're gonna
And
need a
And I get
scrolling-
everything is dust.
I want a
and is
scrolling
still
like
dust.
hologram marquee with all the epitaphs.
How long before you think people have digital epitaphs?
I can't believe it's
10
not
years.
already a thing. There's
10
got to
years
be
max.
a tombstone option with a screen, with an LED screen. It must exist.
All right. With his full beard, piercing blue eyes, and magnetic personality, Einhorn soon achieved the distinction of being the best-known hippie in Philadelphia.
Foghorn Einhorn.
According to Stephen Levy, who would eventually write a biography of Einhorn, quote, in the alternative United States, there was Jerry Rubin, Abby Hoffman, Timothy Leary, Allen Ginsberg. In alternative Philadelphia, there was only ever Ira. So he was a big fish in a small pond, basically.
Yeah.
People who lived in Philadelphia at the time noted that rather than being devoted to one cause, Ira seemed to mostly care about being perceived as avant-garde or like being ahead of, like, I liked them before it was cool.
Right.
Kind of thing with his different causes and movements. So he wasn't like legit caring as
I
an
found my John
activist.
Quincy Adams side by side. Thank God.
About time.
I'm putting
You
it on the
weren't
drive.
shitting enough on this man, so I knew you were up to something else.
I've been scrolling through photos for the last 10 minutes. But I'm present now. As
Okay.
present as I
She's back.
As
will ever
Ira
be.
will be.
Yep.
As I will ever be.
But that photo is on the drive, Lucy, if you want to go take a look.
I'm as attentive as I will ever be.
So, for example, he was a devoted anti-war activist at the beginning of the Vietnam War, but once anti-war sentiments became more commonplace, he seemed to stop mentioning it and devoted all of his energy to environmental causes, which he would also eventually abandon in favor of an interest in hypnosis and telepathy.
Oh, you're getting more and more off track here, pal.
An interest in fossil fuels.
And fossils. Crystal healing.
So, more than anything, Ira loved attention.
I mean,
Shit.
Yeah, but some people can do it in a douchebaggy way, and some people are just Libras.
fair. And thank you. Please like me.
And you do need a top hat.
I do need a top hat.
And a talk show.
I have
You
that.
have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she ha- Hello.
Check. You're currently on it.
Oh, shit.
It's happening right now.
So,
Go look at my John Quincy Adams photo, Lucy. I know you haven't looked at it yet because you haven't burst out
haven't.
laughing.
hey, give me 1 second.
You're in the middle of
I'm
something.
sorry. Can we stop for one?
Yeah, you should be too.
I'm listening. Isn't it so good? Like, spot on.
That's amazing. I'm recording right now, and I stopped to take this.
Did
phone
Lucy
call,
just
so if
answer
there's
a phone
something
call?
that you need.
Jesus fucking Christ. This is off the fucking. She's on the
I
phone.
have to go. They're yelling at
She's
me.
just
They're yelling at
On
me.
the phone. Yes.
Bye. I said, can we please stop? I
I
thought it
didn't
was an
hear that.
emergency.
Leave it in. Leave it in. And somebody with Photoshop skills give John Quincy Adams a big
dick.
hairdo and a nose ring.
We have the same lips, the same nose,
You
the
look
exact same smile lines.
exactly the same.
That is my face. That is
You have
my
the same brows.
same brows. His need to be
But-
filled in a little bit, but
Quite honestly,
same
When
brows.
yours aren't filled in, though.
They look like that.
Yeah.
Oh
Wow.
my god, this is
Yeah, like this says
incredible.
38% match. Lies, 98% match.
100.
The only difference is the pink hair, the hairline. It's the only
It's the same
difference.
mouth, the same nose, minus the piercing.
Can you get a bald cap and dress up as John Quincy Adams for all?
I mean, it's probably really problematic, but the answer is yes, I can. I am
might
able.
have the hots for JQA.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
Amanda Quincy Jacobson.
Adams,
Anyway,
Okay. So
the Quince.
Ira loved attention, much like Amanda, and he was a constant presence in Philadelphia, which Amanda almost was. Even at one
Will
point
be.
running for mayor, he was
Oh.
quite the dark horse candidate. He did not win. According to one source, quote, in those days, he was part of everything that was happening. Everybody knew Ira, and he knew everybody. He had a lot of magnetism, and he drew people into his orbit. One woman who was sadly drawn into his orbit at the time remembers, quote, he was a guru like there have never been gurus. I mean, important people just used to sit at his smelly feet.
Oh,
The
that's a
fuck?
cult. You're a cult
Uh-uh.
leader now. That is a culty thing to do.
The Beatles had gone to India, but others couldn't afford to do that, so they went to Ira.
Oh my God. God bless him.
So he was a makeshift Gandhi,
He was like a makeshift guru in Philadelphia.
a makeshift Jewish guru in
Yeah.
Philly.
Get
Okay.
it.
Whatever works.
I mean, he was not religious, but yeah. Ira
No.
never seemed to have a job
Fusion.
or any money of his own, but he had a gift for getting wealthy and influential people to support him and making them think it was their own idea, and we will get to it.
I love that. Eat the rich.
Mm-hmm.
Get it.
I mean, eat the rich unless they're propping up a monster.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But aren't we all in some way?
Yeah. And it was not just the hippies that loved Ira. He attracted the admiration of numerous Philadelphia politicians and even civic leaders and became a sort of bridge between the anti-establishment and the establishment, probably because he didn't give a fuck about any of the causes or, like, morals.
Yeah, he had no allegiances.
Right. Yeah. He was like, you're giving me attention and money and power? Great.
Cool.
But it eventually became clear to some that Ira's magnetism and persuasiveness had a darker side. Leading up to the first Earth Day event in 1970, and yes, I did misunderstand the assignment, and my crime takes place in the 70s. It was the
Incredible.
60s.
But as I clarified, the 60s really does stretch
bleeding.
into the early 70s. There's bleeding.
And even 1977. So,
Oh, okay. Well,
That
hashtag hometown.
so the first Earth,
Kenyan.
it's fine. It was the 60s.
Was he in his 60s?
Whatever.
the
Okay, so
1860s would have been more fitting.
whatever. He was like a counterculture 60s guy. Okay, so
Oh my
whatever. I'm drinking more wine. You're being mean.
God. Whatever. I'm just going to look at
Bug
John
facts.
Quincy Adams.
Bug facts.
Hashtag
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 bug
John
fact.
Quincy Adams. So
Hashtag Quince facts.
leading up to the first Earth Day event, which was held in Philadelphia, Einhorn was kicked out of several organizational meetings for being disruptive and, quote, not contributing anything of value.
Goals.
But then, when the day of the event, which was televised and watched by millions, came around, Ira grabbed the microphone and refused to give up the podium for 30 minutes.
Oh, no.
He had nothing to do with the organizing of it. He was legit expelled from the organizing meetings because he was a distraction. And then he
that
just
guy.
literally co-opted it.
He's that fucking guy.
Mhm.
And I hate him.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I like him? I don't even remember why. Oh, because he had a distaste for academia and he was an English major.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
God
it's
damn
easy.
it.
That's fair. That's the past.
Ugh.
So this would lead to a persistent myth, probably started by him, that he had founded Earth Day.
No.
Uh-huh.
Sir.
The
He
confidence
completely
of a white man.
co-opted Earth Day.
Yeah.
Oh.
And fucking unsurprisingly, an even darker side to Einhorn's egotism was seen only by the women in his life.
Mm-hmm.
In 1972, Einhorn met the stunningly beautiful and brilliant Holly Maddox, and there are photos on the drive. Holly was a former cheerleader.
John Quincy Adams is stunningly beautiful.
Stunningly beautiful John Quincy Adams.
Yep.
Oh,
Um,
she's gorge. Look at her.
She's got like a very Jenny from Forrest Gump
Yeah.
Yeah.
thing happening. Yeah.
Jenny.
She's got wonderful brows. I love this picture of her and her little flower
Her
crown.
flower
Yeah.
crown. Yeah, she's cute. She's a looker.
Yeah.
She's
And she's got like an Elle Woods thing happening as well because she was a former cheerleader and then she moved from Texas to Pennsylvania and she attended Bryn Mawr, which is extremely impressive.
What? Like it's hard?
wasn't that an all girls school
Yes.
for
Yeah.
Okay.
And she had recently graduated with a degree in fine arts from Bryn Mawr when she met Ira. According to people who knew Holly growing up, she was incredibly smart and always seemed to be searching for something. So she was like a searcher. She was on a journey in life.
She was searching for an egomaniac.
Unfortunately, yes. So while most of her friends had been content to stay in Texas, Holly had wanted to break away from her hometown, see the world, be a part of everything that had been going on. Holly and Einhorn were introduced to each other in a restaurant by mutual friends, and their romance was swift. Just 2 weeks after they met, she moved into his apartment. And he's much older than her. He had been a professor. She is just graduated.
Slow it down, gals.
Yeah.
Slow it down.
People who knew them described their relationship as tempestuous.
Oh,
one of my
like
favorite words.
The Tempest.
It's a great word.
Tempestuous.
Not to describe your relationship, though.
Correct.
Yeah.
No healthy relationship is tempestuous.
Like, defenestration is also a great word.
Right.
Love.
Not a
also
great act.
not great for
Not
a
great
relationship.
Describing your relationship.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
So
Also, misled. Great word.
Great
And
word
great for your relationship.
underused.
Underused
Misled.
and underappreciated, if I'm being honest.
Wholeheartedly underappreciated.
So part of why their relationship was tempestuous and fucking toxic is the fact that Ira insisted on having an open relationship, which is like fine if both parties are into
Right.
that, but it doesn't
Right.
sound like Holly was that into it. And Ira would often brag to Holly about his other, quote, conquests.
Oh, ish.
No.
That's,
If
Which,
you're
like-
referring to them as conquests,
yeah.
Then
No,
you
no.
can't be in an open relationship. Like, that's not... Those
There's
two
no
things are
respect or
incompatible.
Yeah, that's
No.
that's
that's
ishy.
super ishy.
Yeah. So Holly's family, understandably, despised Ira and considered him to be a bully. I'm imagining that I'm completely making this up, but I'm
Speculating wildly.
that she probably was like, oh, you don't like him because he's like too revolutionary. He's too counterculture, whatever. And they're like, no, we don't like him because he's
just a
abusive
dick, and he treats
trash.
you like shit. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So one of Holly's sisters remembers on this one occasion when Holly brought Ira back home to Texas with her, quote, he went out of his way to be unpleasant to everyone. One evening, unpleasant.
Oh, great.
One evening, as we sat down for dinner, he began eating and reaching across the table for food, even as my father was saying grace.
Okay, even if you're not going to participate in grace,
Yeah.
just fucking
No.
sit there quietly for a minute.
Right. You don't have, I've done that. I've been with family who wanted to say grace or say a prayer, and I've just sat respectfully and.
Kenyon came to mass with me one time when I was growing up as a Catholic.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we talked about how fucked up it was, but not during.
No.
You just be respectful. Yeah, it was a fucking power move. He was being a dick.
That's ridiculous.
Later, while we were sitting in the living room, Holly came in with the family photo album and asked Ira if he would like to see pictures of her when she was a child.
Oh, no.
He said, quote, no, comb my hair.
Oh. Wait.
So asshole-ish that I can't.
What?
No. Play with my hair.
No.
Also, if I had someone to play with my hair on demand,
he didn't
I'd be
say
a happy
play with
woman.
my hair. He said, no, comb my hair.
I know what he said, but translation to my life,
Even
Play
both
with my
parts
hair.
of that sentence are disgusting.
oh yeah.
Saying no to in front of your partner's family who you're meeting, who you should be trying to make a good impression on, that you don't want to see baby pictures of your partner.
That's a classic. That's the classic.
That's
I'm
such-
bringing my partner home to meet my family move. You look at the baby photos. It's part
a
of the
gimme.
job.
It's a fucking gimme.
All you have to do is sit there. Just say yes and
yes,
sit
she
there.
was cute. Just agree with mom
Yeah.
that she was the cutest baby. It's not hard.
Even if
Sit
she
there,
was hideous.
smile, coo, agree. But no, it's all about him. He
Even
doesn't
if
want
you
it to
do
be
want
about
your
her.
hair played with, there are more appropriate times.
It's abuse. It's a control move. He doesn't want the
So
attention to be on
fucking
her.
gross.
It's about him.
Ugh.
Finishing the quote.
Give me 5
from-
minutes with him.
Yo,
5 minutes.
if only. So back to the quote from Holly's sister, quote, "I'll never forget the hurt look on Holly's face as she put the album aside and went to find a comb and brush. He just smiled as if pleased that he'd shown everyone in the room that he was in complete control."
That is so creepy.
That's so
The whole
fucked.
family.
That's so fucked. Fuck that guy. He puts a stain on all English majors who
He
have a
dies,
disdain
right?
for academia.
We will
Oh,
get
yeah,
to
does
it.
he die?
So, we will get to it. So Holly and Ira fought and broke up regularly, but always seemed to get back together. Again, a hallmark of an abusive relationship. That is until 1977, which is the 60s, when Holly made clear
It was
that
the 60s.
it was still the 60s. It's a 2-decade decade. When
Well,
Holly,
do we know the temperature for that day? It might have been in the 60s.
it could have been in the, I don't know the month. I should know.
There's no way to know.
Whatever.
She
let's
made it
assume.
clear that she was finally leaving him once and for all, and she moved to New York. She even
Go, girl.
called her family, told them that she was done with Ira. The family was elated.
Mm-hmm.
It felt
Rejoicing.
like it was really the last time she would leave. But as we know from abusive relationships, that's the most risky
time.
and dangerous time. Einhorn called her and convinced her to come back to Philadelphia in order to retrieve the belongings she had left in the apartment they shared, claiming that if she didn't return, he would throw everything she owned out on the street. And
Yep.
I've never been in that position, so I'm not judging, but I have broken up with someone and left valuable belongings at their home so that I didn't have to deal with retrieving them. And that wasn't an abusive relationship. I was just so done.
Yeah.
I was just like, you can keep those fucking Steve Madden boots and my library book, and I will pay the fine, and I'm out.
I mean, a friend of ours who we know dearly, who's listening right now, had that exact same threat from her now ex-partner. And I went to their house and we basically hired movers like that day to get all of her stuff out in like the 4-hour window where we knew he would be at work. It was very stressful. Like nothing was packed. It was like, just get what you can. And if anything was left behind, like you just leave it.
Yeah.
If you have that window of opportunity and the help to do it, like great. But if you don't,
Yeah.
grab your meds and go.
It sounds like he lured her.
Oh, he absolutely did. He
Yeah.
was waiting. He was lying in wait.
Correct. Yeah. He probably was pretending to be calm and was like, well, come pick up your shit or I'm going to get rid of it. And so she probably thought that she could go back and get it and then be finally done. So she reluctantly agreed and she made the trip back to Philadelphia from New York. She was just 30 years old at the time and she would never be seen alive again.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, I knew it was coming.
I know.
It's never.
I told you guys that
This is getting serious Robert Durst vibes because I recently rewatched All Good Things, that movie with Ryan Gosling and Kirsten Dunst, which was about that. And this reads a lot
Yes.
very similarly.
Well, they often do these types of cases. There's a lot of patterns.
Yep. Well, I mean, even like the era,
Yeah.
the decades, the occasional shows of force in front of the family,
yeah.
the money. Yeah.
So Einhorn, as the last known person to see her alive, was questioned by the police after her disappearance. But he insisted that after arriving at the apartment, Holly had gone to the local co-op to buy some tofu and sprouts, and she had never returned and he didn't know what happened to her.
Did he have to explain it in the most hippie fucking way possible?
I know. See,
Did he
it
have
counts.
to?
It was the 60s.
Basically.
It really was the 60s.
Although I literally have tofu and sprouts in my fridge right now, and my partner works for a co-op.
That's true.
So
It's true.
cannot
So-
pass judgment.
we
the
are
search-
living in the 60s
Yeah.
again.
The search for Holly made very little progress at the time, and believing that the local police were not doing enough, probably because they weren't doing enough, Holly's parents hired 2 former FBI agents as private detectives to work on the case to find their missing daughter. The detectives spent 18 months working, but ultimately it was Ira's neighbors noticing a terrible smell coming
God
from his
damn it.
apartment.
Which is also a disgusting power move to keep the remains close to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so creepy. It's like in the drunk dive I did about the Napoleon cosplayer who like
Yeah.
slept with the remains of his murdered
It's like
lover
I
under
don't
his
even
bed.
need to clean up after myself.
Yes.
Or that British guy that killed so many people and would like give people illegal abortions and then actually just kill them.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it's just that is always a detail that
Why
freaks me
are
out.
men?
yes.
So neighbors noticed this terrible smell coming from his apartment, and that led to the discovery of Holly's body. So her remains had been left to decompose inside a steamer trunk underneath newspapers dating from the exact week of her disappearance.
Oh, how convenient. Time stamped.
Yeah, the watch she was wearing was cracked and stopped
Yeah.
at exactly the
Time of death.
And then this trunk had been stashed in the back of a locked closet. And
It's always a fucking steamer trunk.
I know how many people.
They're
I mean,
so
I used to have a
dramatic.
collection of them, but
They're very dramatic.
an examination of the remains showed that her skull had been fractured in at least 6 places.
Oh, honey.
So Einhorn was arrested, and his lawyer, who was actually future U.S. Senator Arlen Specter.
Ever heard of him?
Ever
Because
heard
no.
Well, I have, but he's not. He was like, he flip-flopped parties. He like wasn't great. Whatever. He negotiated a bail of $40,000.
But he's got the pockets of fucking everybody in Philly. Yeah, he's going to get bailed out immediately.
He was released on bond, which was paid by a socialite named Barbara Bronfman, who was a member of the wealthy Bronfman family who owns Seagram's Liquor Company.
Jenny from the Bronx.
Oh,
And the
Isn't she-
Bronfmans, yes,
yeah.
yes. They
Wait,
are-
what were you going to say that I totally...
I'm
Because
sure
I
we'll
heard,
get to
was
it.
that? And then Kenyon, yeah. And
No,
I'm
I'm
just
sure
over here
we'll
going,
get to
was
it.
it what? I don't get
No,
it.
it's
What's
okay.
happening?
You can say if you want.
Jesus Christ. Sorry, Ray just knocked
Ray!
over a bunch of shit.
The Bronfmans have supported a bunch of
Crazy
bullshit
shit.
cults. Yeah.
Yeah. The Seagram's heirs
Oh, wait,
are
weren't
like...
weren't they featured in those 2 sisters in the Nexium fucking like pyramid
I think
scheme
it's
cult
them.
from the Vow?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
They're
okay.
way into like various cults
Uh-huh.
And they have
schemes
unlimited money.
Oh, yeah, bottomless
Yeah.
pit.
Yep.
Okay, it's clicking now.
Yep. Okay.
So Barbara had met Ira through, quote, a shared interest in the occult, and she didn't believe he was capable of murder.
Oh no.
He was set up with a body in the trunk decomposing for months in his apartment.
There's no way.
She wasn't alone. At Einhorn's bail hearing, numerous people, including priests, university professors, company directors, they all testified to his gentle and nonviolent nature. And that is because fucking abusers thrive off of that, and they target their violence to their victims, and they thrive off of the fact that they are perceived as normal in broader society.
Yeah, that literally they want to use everybody in their network as that exact pawn that will be like, oh, so-and-so is so gentle, they would never do that. That is tactical.
Right.
Well, they just thrive on flying under the radar too. Like part of their satisfaction is that nobody sees it coming. Nobody suspects them. They're just like, ooh,
Yeah,
I'm the nice
and
guy.
it's part of their power to be like, nobody would believe you. Everybody
Exactly.
loves me.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, investigators who were interviewing Einhorn's ex-girlfriends in order to build a case against him were hearing a much different story. Several of these women testified that Einhorn had been controlling and full of rage, that he had beaten them brutally when they tried to leave. About a month before his trial was set to begin, Einhorn skipped bail and fled to Europe, which, like, if you're not paying your own bail, what's stopping you from skipping bail?
Exactly.
Where he would live as a free man for almost 2 decades.
Holy shit.
How
Was
many
there
more
no
people did he kill?
What is
that
it?
time?
Extradition? Like why?
Well, for a time, he lived openly in Dublin because Ireland did not have an extradition treaty with the U.S., and I think that might have been related to the Troubles, but I don't know for
Northern
sure.
Ireland. Yeah. Maybe.
He eventually moved on, and investigators were able to discover his whereabouts for several years. Barbara Bronfman, that's a hard name, continued to support Einhorn financially until 1988, when Stephen Levy published his book, The Unicorn's Secret, which I imagine at least one person has bought without reading the back cover and been like,
this isn't a children's fantasy novel.
What was the book about the dolphin fucker? Because it was something like The Wet Slit. That's not what it was. But it was something. It was like the dolphin song, or it was something like that.
Yes.
The Wet Slit and Dolphin Song are very different titles.
The
But in my mind,
was chapter 3. The title.
It was Act 2.
I know.
I can't with that case.
But thanks to Kenyon, The Wet Slit and the Dolphin Song are interchangeable in my mind.
Yeah.
You'll never look at dolphins the same way again.
I never did in the first place.
Or dolphin trainers.
You made it worse.
Or the phrase vaginal slit.
A phrase that wasn't in my vernacular until we went to Orlando. Thanks, Orlando.
Thanks, Kenyon.
I blame Orlando, honestly.
Somebody in the
blame
audience
Orlando.
was like,
I have that book.
Okay.
She was in like the front fucking row. I feel like she had it on her person in my memory, but I know that's not
she
right.
had purchased, or she either had purchased it or insisted that she hadn't purchased it. She got it as a gift. Either way, she owns it.
That bitch incriminated herself.
Holy shit, that
way.
was such a good live show
That
moment.
was the best.
Top 10.
That
I
and
have that book.
that and Lions, Lions, and More Lions.
Yes. Oh my God. Stay home, wear your mask,
so
get fucking
bad.
vaccinated so we can ever leave our
touring.
houses
Yeah,
again.
can everybody just stay the fuck home so that we can have a summer?
The privileged folks who are able to
Right.
stay the fuck home.
Of course, yes.
But yes.
And those whose husbands don't own a restaurant.
That's true. Yes. No, yes.
I'm
Just
waiting
be
on my
smart.
vaccine, personally.
Wear a fucking mask. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
the Unicorn Secret.
Hi.
The Wet Slit.
God damn. The unicorn's wet slit.
A biography of Einhorn that persuasively argued that there could be no doubt that he murdered Holly. So this finally changed Barbara Bronfman's mind, thank God.
I keep thinking you're going to say Barbara Bush.
Yeah. Bronfman found the book convincing enough, apparently unlike the discovery of fucking Holly's body in his apartment.
Rotting in his steamer trunk.
Yep.
Motherfucker.
That
Lord.
she finally cut off support, financial support, and tipped off police that Ira had been living in Stockholm with his new wife, a Swedish heiress named Annika Floden.
Okay.
Okay. Nothing like a Swedish heiress to throw him off the trail.
This guy, he's such a fucking.
He's a
looking out for number
narcissist.
one. Yes.
Well, yeah, he is.
Fucking
Just master
insane.
manipulator. He's getting
Yes.
everything he wants from exactly the right people.
from women.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, right. Yeah. People that he can manipulate.
Yeah,
It's
he's
very-
Dirty John.
Yeah. Yes.
This
yes.
so reminds me of Dirty John and
Robert Durst.
Robert Durst.
Yeah.
This is just like a
A
perfect
young
love
Robert
child,
Durst. Because
Yeah.
he got real gross.
to be honest.
By the time investigators arrived to search for him, Ira had already fled. It's unknown whether or not Barbara had second thoughts and tipped him off. I don't know. I'm speculating. In 1993, a trial was held in Philadelphia for Holly's murder, and Einhorn was convicted in absentia and sentenced to life in prison. I don't know why it took so long to have the trial in absentia, but finally he was convicted. It was not until 1997, however, so 20 years after Holly's murder, that Einhorn was finally tracked down and arrested. He was he was still living with Annika under the
So
name.
he was basically out for what, like 30 years just
20.
doing his thing? 20. Okay. So this was still within that 2 decades.
Yeah,
freedom.
1977 to 1997.
Okay.
Yeah.
Math is hard.
So he was living with Annika, the heiress, under the name
math.
Eugene Mallon, in a converted windmill in the tiny French village called Champagne Mouton, which means champagne
Champagne
sheep.
Mountain.
Nope, not mountain.
Oh,
It means sheep.
champagne mouton.
Champagne sheep.
Well, too late. It's Champagne
or
Mountain now.
sheep champagne.
Sheep champagne. I don't
Let's
like
remember
sheep
our beauty
champagne.
age.
I like
Beauty
sheep
age
champagne.
goodness size.
Good
Sheep
Lord.
champagne.
Sheep champagne.
Not cheap champagne.
Sheep.
Sheep.
She needs to be shaved.
She
With
needs to
sheep
be
champagne.
shaved. With sheep shearers.
So, Philadelphia detectives had been attempting. Show anyway. Philadelphia detectives had been attempting to find Einhorn by tracking down Annika when they discovered that a woman named Annika Florin had recently applied for a French driver's license under the name Mrs. Eugene Mallon. Or
Get a load of these Malins.
Mallon. Maybe he's going with French pronunciation, so Maillon. I don't know.
Papier maillon. Champagne mouton.
Maillon. May I have
good,
maillon champagne?
I know,
nailed
when I
it.
fake it, I nail it.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
got that
secret.
je ne sais quoi.
That's the secret to foreign pronunciations. Just like
Getting real guttural about it.
lean the fuck into it.
Melon.
If you sound
That's really
like
good.
a cartoon,
Just be really extra
it's
about
perfect. Yeah, be super extra. And it's perfect.
it. You're really good at it, apparently. So
Do it again. I want to hear you do it again.
Yeah. That was good. That was good.
Eugene Melon. Champagne mouton.
That's better than 99% of the people that I have tutored in French.
Well, I am French Canadian.
That is nothing to write home about.
Don't admit that.
My grandmother lied to it's my grandmother's dirty secret. I told my mom
Her unicorn secret.
it's her wet slit.
Your mom's
I
wet
told my
slit.
mom the last time we had a family gathering that I wanted to call out Grandma Eileen for saying she's French when I found on fucking Ancestry.com that we're goddamn French Canadian on that side. And my mother was like, don't say it. Do not bring it up.
Don't
You
ruin her
want, you want a
golden years.
relationship with your grandmother, you will not mention that.
It's her dirty little secret.
Secret. I'll wait until she's dying and then whisper it in her ear as she takes her last breath. I know about
I know we're French Canadian.
I know we're French Canadian.
I know about poutine.
She goes, no! Ah, no! Mon Dieu!
Sacre bleu.
Sacre bleu!
So that's happened.
So
Oh,
anyways,
the darkness.
alors, at the time of his arrest, Einhorn claimed to be working on writing a book that would finally clear his name.
Wet Slit
Yeah,
2,
okay.
the wettest slit.
Wet Slit 2.0.
Slits gone wild. So
Hot wet slits.
Ew.
he would...
Stop it. I'm gagging. Ew.
This has gone off the rails.
In my case, there is an actual book that's basically that, titled that. I'm not kidding. So, like, just wait. Hot wet slits will be back.
Stop.
I need more alcohol for that.
So, okay, I need less. Okay. So
She's actually gagging.
I almost threw up.
Why does anybody listen to this? We're so unprofessional.
They only listen to it in Guantanamo Bay. We've cleared this up.
And in French Canada.
Okay. So, Einhorn claimed to be working on writing this book. And he was going to lay out the case that actually it was the CIA that killed Holly in order to frame him because he
Wouldn't
had
doubt it, given their track record.
I know.
But she's white, so they definitely didn't kill her.
Oh, right.
The
So was JFK.
the only thing I hate more than the CIA is
this
fucking
guy.
Ira Einhorn. So,
Ira, hear that, Ira Glass?
no. Treasure.
But do you hear us, Ira Glass? Because I'd be honored. You're my favorite.
Definitely
Yeah, but like,
not.
do you hear us?
No fucking way I'd bet my life on it.
Ira, do you hear me?
Ira?
Okay.
Ira, do you
I'm almost
hear?
done and I have to pee. So I'm getting through this.
Let's go.
So he claimed that the CIA was trying to frame him because he knew too much about their research into the paranormal.
Oh, yeah, he's so valuable.
Paranormal.
Oh, my God.
Although Einhorn would not succeed in clearing his name, arresting him and extraditing him back to the U.S. proved to be complicated, and he continued to live in Champagne-Mouton for
Sheep champagne.
Sheep Champagne for years. Sheep Champagne. Making regular court appearances to fight the extradition. Finally, after it was established that Einhorn would not face the death penalty and would receive a new trial upon his return, he was extradited to the U.S. in 2001. So,
Which I think we've talked about before. That's super common with foreign extradition.
a lot of European countries,
Because they don't have the death penalty.
because they don't have the death penalty, will refuse extradition until the death penalty is off the table.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
And maybe there's something about trials in absentia too that they're not cool with. I don't know. The jury quickly convicted Einhorn of Holly's murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Bye-bye.
In the words of Philadelphia District Attorney Lynn Abraham at the time, quote, "Metaphorically speaking, Ira Einhorn and his Virgo moon are toast."
Oh, that's good. Just go right for the jugular.
I love that. I want that to be my epitaph.
He's
I am
permanently
neither
in retrograde.
Ira Einhorn nor a Virgo. Nor toast.
My husband's a Virgo, so I do appreciate, but I love that.
I love that.
Einhorn served 18 years in prison and then died in April 2020 of heart problems unrelated to COVID-19.
He lived that long.
He was an old motherfucker.
Wow.
Holly Maddox's sister, Elizabeth Hall, commented on his death, quote, "I think a lot of people in Philadelphia were waiting to hear that he had died. He became part of the city's consciousness in an ugly way." And so we say, Saya fucking Nora to Ira Einhorn.
Bye.
Bye,
Ira.
Bye-bye.
You're toast.
Wow.
Dang. Poor
That's my
Holly.
That was a wild one.
It was a
Nice
wild one.
job. I feel oddly satisfied by your super dark and gruesome case.
Yeah, it's like getting a hug from an old friend.
It had been a while. It was time. It was time.
I'm home.
Our next episode will be even darker. So.
Oh, wow.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Today, I'm going to be talking about Sharon Kinney.
She's
And
a cutie.
I had not heard of this woman before, but this case is apparently pretty famous. So it just reaffirms that, yes, I live under a rock, and no, I don't pay attention to literally anything.
Nothing.
There's a lot of true crime that we do not pay. We are by no means experts
No.
in anything.
Like, I know JonBenet Ramsey.
Yeah, we're not.
It's not that we don't pay attention. It's that we're not such junkies about it.
I'm not
we're
that
like
deep into the culture
seeking
for how
it
much I
out.
love true crime,
Yeah,
to be
It's
honest.
true. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, like
I'm way into
true-
things that I organically happen upon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
rocks.
it's hit or
Like
miss.
Petoskey stones.
Apparently, it's Petoskey.
Pataska.
It's several different pronunciations that we were provided.
Stop
So,
emailing us.
Sharon Kinney was born Sharon Hall on November 30th, 1939 in Independence, Missouri. She fell in love at
It's
16
Missouri.
years old. It's Missouri. With James Kinney, who she'd met at a church function. And they dated until he left to attend college at Brigham Young. Ever heard of it?
Brigham Young.
Brigham Young.
Yep.
Bring him over young. His college career was abruptly cut short when he received a letter from Sharon informing him that she was pregnant with his child.
She'd fallen pregnant.
She fell pregnant.
Oh
He-
no, those
Oh,
special
yeah.
underwear don't stop the spermatozoa.
They don't. So he left school and returned home to marry
She
Sharon on
says that
October
she
18th,
sips her cheap champagne.
1956. So they got married when she was 17, but they listed her age as 18 on the marriage license so they could get married.
Okay,
you
that's
do.
fraud.
Yeah, I know, but whatever. It was the 60s. It was 1956.
It was the 1860s.
So the two also officially joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, moved to Provo, Utah, and James went back to school at BYU for a few semesters until they decided to once again move back to Independence, Missouri, and get jobs so they could support the family.
Utah is so beautiful, and that's all I have to say.
I
I am-
love Utah.
Bill and I just planned and booked a COVID-safe road trip in March, and we're going to Arches in Utah, and I cannot wait.
If you can dip down to Monument Valley,
We probably can't because we have only a certain amount of days and we're going like 4,000 fucking
Yeah,
miles.
your trip is
Well,
very ambitious.
It's epic.
it's quite ambitious. But for anyone
so
out there
no.
listening, if you can get to Monument Valley, it is my favorite place in the U.S. that I've been to thus far. It's
Great.
fucking gorgeous.
I will not be visiting this trip,
Great.
but another trip I will.
Yeah, another time.
So, in typical misogynist fashion, reports highlight Sharon's lavish spending and enjoyment of the finer things in life, basically painting James as the diligent, hardworking husband, which he was by all accounts, and demonizing
really-
Sharon.
Lavish can you be in Missouri?
Exactly.
Like how
There's
really
a lot
lavish.
of rich people
shop-
who really
there's
enjoy
shoppings.
like houseboats in Missouri.
They didn't
I
have a
get-
houseboat.
Well, I'm
I
just
guess.
saying there are rich communities in Missouri. Believe it.
Yeah.
Of course.
They
I'm
weren't
being
wealthy, and she
facetious.
liked to shop, and newspapers are certainly at the time, less so now, but like anything that is going to basically paint women as like frivolous mall rats is all they fucking
Right.
care about. So that's literally what they were
Right.
doing. They were painting her as like a succubus that's just spending away all of his money. Which, in the words of Lucille Bluth, good for her. So Sharon and James had 2 children together, and shortly after the birth of their second child, Sharon began a relationship with a high school friend named John Bolditz.
Bald
want-
dicks.
I want
Bolditz.
Cheez-Its.
Oh,
While James wasn't sure that she was cheating, he did suspect and was growing tired of her spending. So he approached her about divorce in March of 1960. Now we're in the 60s.
It was
Okay.
it's now the 60s.
It is now the 60s. Sharon had agreed to a divorce under the terms that she and the kids get to keep the house and that he paid her $1,000 a month in support. Pretty good deal. But the church and their parents, who are also part of the church, were urging them not to get divorced because of, Jesus or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure the fucking omnipotent God who formed the earth
so
and
much.
the heavens cares so much about divorce.
Right.
Who like
Bigger
commanded
fish to fry
the
every
murder
Friday
of one
after
of
evening
his
mass.
followers' children. Yeah. It's fine. Whatever. Lots of
So
babies
then-
died under God. Just saying. In the Old
It
Testament.
happens every day.
Eh.
So then, in March 19th, 1960, Sharon alleged that she heard a single gunshot from the bedroom where James was taking a rest around 5:30 p.m. He worked nights, so he often napped in the evening. Sharon went into the room and claimed to see their 2-year-old daughter, Dana, on the bed next to James holding one of James's guns.
What?
She theorized that Dana had accidentally shot and killed James, and this theory was actually backed up by friends and family who testified that James often let Dana play with his guns. Again, she's 2 years old. So I have to assume even if that's true, like the guns weren't loaded if he was letting her play with them. I don't fucking know. And they did a forensic test with Dana that confirmed that Dana was capable. I just imagine with these little pudgy, little 2-year-old hands of picking up and holding a .22 caliber handgun with both hands and successfully pulling the trigger.
I mean,
So the death,
it's very possible.
I guess, but
it's not likely.
the fuck?
So the death was ruled an accidental homicide.
Sorry, but the facts at this point, he's dead on the ground, gunshot
In the bed.
in the bed, gunshot to the head.
2-year-old playing in the bed with
2-year-old
him.
with a loaded fucking gun.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you got them all. You got all the facts.
I don't like.
No.
No.
So the death was ruled an accidental homicide, and Sharon collected his $30,000 life insurance policy, which is valued at about $230,000 today. So a sizable chunk.
Not bad. Could have been more.
Could have been more, but
She
again,
killed
they're
that
not
guy.
super wealthy. They're working class folks. He's working overnights. I'm sure they weren't buying into a big old policy.
She killed him, framed her daughter.
So with the money in her pocket and her hubs in the ground, she bought herself a brand new sports car, a Ford Thunderbird to be exact. You
All
get it,
right,
girl.
so maybe she was overspending.
I know, but I don't want to throw.
Maybe
I don't want to
was
perpetuate that.
defending her.
Oh, I was.
incorrectly.
I was. And will always defend
I have
her
leapt
spending.
to so many conclusions at this point.
I have nothing to say about her spending. I love her lavish spending. Her
9
murdering, on the other
lords
hand.
leaping to conclusions.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I came to a conclusion before we got to the Ford fucking Thunderbird, which I
5 golden Ford
which I
Thunderbirds.
assume was red. Like,
Oh,
Probably.
To match her
And-
manicure.
yeah.
And
Jungle
she began
red.
dating the salesman who sold it to her, a man named Walter Jones.
Yep.
Months, like
she
2-3 months after her
textbook.
husband
This is almost-
was tragically shot and murdered by their 2-year-old daughter.
I'm sorry, this is embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for her.
It's incredible. It's incredible. So Walter, however, was also married
Of course.
to a woman named Patricia, and they had 2 children together themselves.
Tracks. Everything tracks.
Everything tracks. The affair continued for several weeks before Walter decided he wanted to reconcile and rededicate himself to his wife and kids.
Also tracks.
Sharon was not pleased with this, and in a Kelly Kapoor from The Office move, she told him she was pregnant.
Also tracks.
Unlike Ryan Howard, however.
Kelly Kapoor from The Office is Zach's favorite
The best.
character of all time
The
across
best.
any media.
Oh, well, I hope you're committed because I'm pregnant and I'm keeping it.
My New Year's resolution was to get more attention.
Because I'm pregnant and I'm keeping it.
Keeping it. She's in her pink dress. Oh, Ryan's coming in today?
And then her
Oh, I have a lot of questions. First of all, how dare you?
and then her side interview, she's like, I'm not pregnant.
She doesn't even say it. She just shakes her head. But unlike Ryan Howard, Walter he's not falling for it.
Okay.
So he's like, no.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
So he says to her, he later testified this because this will go to trial, obviously, that he told her that they'd have to, quote, wait and see what happens. Like, I'll wait and see if you're actually pregnant.
Smart.
And that, quote, it was all over between us. So she allegedly, went into a massive rage. And one publication reported that she was, quote, naked and screaming. Sharon followed Walter's car into the street, cursing and threatening to get even with him as neighbors watched the carryings on of a woman who had lost her husband less than 3 months earlier.
The carryings on.
The carryings on.
Jesus Christ.
So with her effort to convince Walter to stay with her a failure, she decided to deal with Patricia, Walter's wife, herself. She called Patricia and lured her into a meeting by saying over the phone that Walter was having an affair with her sister. So Sharon was
sister.
like, no, Sharon's sister.
Her
So Sharon's
own
like,
sister.
Yeah, Sharon's like, oh, I have this deed. Walter is having an affair with my sister.
Yeah.
I want to meet up with you and give you the details. And Patricia agreed to this meeting. And on the afternoon of May 26th, 1960, Patricia left her house to meet with Sharon and never returned home.
Oh, no. She fucking killed his wife, who's not at fault of any of this?
No. A complete innocent.
Sharon is
innocent.
sloppy bananas.
Oh, no.
like, I hate her, and I'm so entertained by how bonked she is.
She's a real housewives of homicide.
It's so this is barely scratching the surface. We have so much more.
I mean,
So
I've
Walter
met a lot of
reported-
Sharons, and they're almost all lunatics.
Except for Scott's little sister,
Not
who is
Scott's
like,
little sister, but like
Very generous.
my
So-
backyard neighbor's name is Sharon. She's also a lunatic. Just saying.
I don't think she can hear you, so like, let it out.
She's also crazy.
Most
I doubt
Sharons
she's
are
listening to this show.
She is fucking nuts.
Sharon, if you're listening,
you're
can
either
you
a
fucking
doctor-
cool it a little bit?
They're a doctor or teacher or a fucking lunatic. Those are all the Sharons that I've ever met.
Doctor, teacher, total loon.
Total loony. Speaking
Oh my
from
God.
personal.
Hashtag not all Sharons, obviously.
Speaking
But
from
I'm going to move on
personal.
now. So Walter reported his wife missing, but immediately suspected Sharon, and witnesses had even seen Patricia get into Sharon's iconic Thunderbird. So like she's flying under the radar with that fucking car.
Which
So
I'm
Walter
assuming is red.
confronted-
Or yellow.
Walter confronted Sharon, demanding to know if she knew anything about Patricia's whereabouts, with some reports even saying he held either like a pocket knife or like a car key to her neck.
So Walter's
for, like, dramatic
also
effect.
a dick, but he thinks his wife is dead because she
Yeah.
is.
Because she is. But so Sharon simply replied, no, and even took part in the search effort to find Patricia
That's a red flag.
in and around
Never
Kansas
take
City.
part in a search effort.
Oh, you know what else is a red flag? What happens
A
next?
yellow car.
A Thunderbird of any color. A Thunderbird of a feather flock
You know, it's
together.
a red
Murdering
flag.
your husband.
A yellow sports car.
So, Sharon calls her previous lover, John Cheez-Its, Bolditz,
Jesus.
to come pick her up and go looking for Patricia.
No.
Lo and behold, they found her body in a secluded area about an hour outside of Independence. They stumbled right upon her.
Boy, just tripped right over.
Wow.
Just the
And-
two of them.
An hour outside.
Yeah.
Wow.
John later testified that Sharon suggested they look in this area and that he was familiar with the area too because the two of them had like Lover's Lane encounters there themselves. So it's like secluded. They would go parking there
Yeah.
when she was cheating with
So
on
Sharon
him with
fucking knew about it.
Mm-hmm. So Patricia's body was found there. She had been shot 4 times with a .22 caliber pistol, which is a gun that Sharon would be quite familiar with because that's what James was killed by. And it wasn't the exact same gun that killed her husband because that gun had been permanently like confiscated by police and never returned, even though she had asked for it back. And they were like, no.
It's evidence?
It's evidence. You can't have it.
No.
Well, it was ruled an accidental homicide.
Whatever.
But either way, it was like,
Still,
no.
The cops aren't just going to be like, here's your gun. Bye.
Yeah, that's not a thing that
Here's
happens.
your gun. We shined it up for you.
Yeah.
Spruce it up.
So Sharon, Walter, the car salesman, and now John, the ex-high school lover, are now all three main suspects in this case and immediately brought in for questioning. So Walter and John disclosed their intimate relationships with Sharon immediately. They took lie detector tests. They provided alibis for the estimated time of death. And, like, they checked out. So the spotlight was definitely on Sharon, but they were missing a key piece of evidence, the actual murder weapon, like the actual gun. So in a classic, it was the 60s moment, investigators deployed a volunteer group of Boy Scouts to the crime scene to search for casings and the murder weapon.
And sell holiday wreaths.
What badge is that for?
What troop of Boy Scouts would be
A
like,
group of
we
Boy
volunteer to search for a body and all evidence?
Well, no, the body's already gone, but they're just
Okay, well, the
searching around the
evidence.
crime scene for
No,
shell
I
casings.
I was strong-armed into being part of the Girl Scouts for many a moon.
So what badge
this
is criminal
this is-
evidence
This
discovery?
is the only reason I would have done it. We never got to do this
I
in
know.
brownies.
This is 1,000% something that my weirdo troop would have done.
Well,
Your weirdo troop led by your weirdo mother.
Led by my mother.
we're okay, girls.
She
Today
would've-
we're going casing hunting.
We went to a lesbian goat farm.
Oh yeah, gotta have a well-rounded exposure.
Yeah.
You had a day
So-
of role playing at Murphy's Landing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We would have done this 1,000%.
So the Boy Scouts successfully find .22 caliber casings consistent with Patricia's wounds, but they still couldn't find a gun. Investigators dragged nearby bodies of water. They searched through nearby buildings, like all over, far and wide, all over the place. They couldn't.
You
find
know
it.
what? I gotta say, just circling back, I actually love the fact that they employed a local Boy Scouts group for this because
I love it too.
It's great.
like, you know, metal
notes.
detection, like looking
It's
for
the least
tracks.
problematic part
of
of
this whole
the Boy
thing.
Scouts.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really like all-encompassing education at that point.
I love it.
I'm actually fully on board with it.
Oh, yeah.
100% in support.
There should be a
Yes.
forensics investigation patch for Boy Scouts. Badge.
I'm hoping that that's the
Googling
patch.
it.
Yes.
You get on that.
Okay.
So, a statement from a coworker of Sharon's built enough of a case against Sharon, though like the evidence was still considered circumstantial, to at least make an arrest. So this coworker claimed that Sharon had instructed him to secretly purchase a .22 caliber pistol for her that would not be registered to her name before. I don't remember the timeline. It was like obviously everything happened really quickly after her husband was quote unquote accidentally killed by their 2-year-old daughter. She buys the Thunderbird. She's with the car salesman. It's like, 3 months when he's like, we're breaking up, and she's like, I'm pregnant, and he's like, no, and she's like,
No.
I'm gonna kill your wife. So it was like bang, bang, bang. So
Yeah.
at some point in the middle, the gun had been confiscated, and she asks her coworker to get her a gun, and he fucking does it.
No. If somebody
he bought
asks
her
you
a
for a gun, no.
Hard no.
Also, there is a forensics badge with Boy Scouts.
Oh, good.
Ooh,
well, there
you
you go.
sent the
Now we know.
link.
Sent the link. Okay.
Thank God. So when Sharon was questioned about this gun, she did confirm its existence, but claimed the gun had been last during a trip to Washington State.
Convenient.
So Sharon was officially arraigned on July 11th, 1960, and was first denied bail, but plot twist, she actually was pregnant.
What?
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Did not see that coming.
Neither did I when I was researching this.
Damn.
I was like, what? So that detail, combined with the evidence being mostly circumstantial, allowed her defense team to get her released on bond. So she bonded out at $24,000, which is like a lot. That's by today's standards like $188,000. I'm not exactly sure how she could afford all of this. I don't know. And this pregnancy also delayed her trial. So she had her third child, Marla Christine, on January 16th, 1961.
May I interject?
Diane Downs situation.
May I interject to read the requirements for the Boy Scouts forensics badge?
Yes, please. I will take this moment to drink water and wine.
Okay, so to get your forensics badge, you have to complete all of the following. Talk with your family or den about forensics and how it is used to help solve crimes.
Done.
2, take your fingerprints and learn how to analyze them.
I actually have done that because I had to get a background check for my internship.
I've had to
Amazing.
do background checks, and we had a fingerprint expert on our show.
I'm on my way to my badge.
We
Here we
sure
go.
did. 3, complete one of the following. Either learn about chromatography and how it is used in solving crimes, do an investigation using different types of black felt tip markers and share your results with your den, or do an analysis of 4 different substances: salt, sugar, baking soda, and cornstarch.
What's cosmetology?
Chromatography, I don't know. Google it.
What?
And complete one of the following. A, visit the sheriff's office or police station in your town. Find out how officers collect evidence. Note that this may be during the same visit as a pause for action. PAWS. I assume that has to do with dogs.
I have been detained by border police, so I'm going to count that.
Ditto,
I've
but they
ridden
never
in a
took our
police car
fingerprints.
multiple times.
Or learn about the different jobs available in forensic science. Choose 2 and find out what is required to work in those jobs and share what
Definitely,
you
yes.
learned with your den.
We've shared with so many dens.
Or C,
I think we have our badge.
I mean, like our wine coven is our den. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or C, learn how animals are used to gather important evidence and talk about your findings with your den.
We've literally done like almost all of these.
We're basically Eagle Scouts.
Eagle Scouts in just the forensics part.
Yeah.
So, chromatography is the separation of a mixture by passing it in a solution or suspension as a vapor through a medium in which the components move at different rates. So, basically, anything with like beakers.
So when we made our wine and also me setting up my humidifier upstairs, check these boxes.
Or also
Yes.
like if you have like a
I poured water in and it comes out a vapor.
if you have like a secret letter, like a hidden message, like dipping it
Yeah.
in like the different like liquids
If
or
you
whatever.
like
We
write
have our badge
something
and
in
find where we
urine
can
and
buy
then like
these badges
cover it
online.
in lemon juice.
I'm getting these
gonna
badges on Etsy.
Google purchasing Eagle badges.
It's not an. These are Boy Scout badges.
My cousin
Forensics
is an
Boy Scout
actual
badge.
Eagle Scout, and I feel like we're
Eagle
disparaging.
Scout.
It's
I don't care.
I also don't care. I'm going to continue on because I have a lot left.
Shopping
Oh,
for
God.
Eagle Scout badges. Got it.
Great, you do that. So, given the similarities in Patricia's murder and James Kinney's murder,
I can
the
get us 3 for $199 a piece.
done. Add to cart.
Expedite.
But is it the forensics badge? Because that's the only one that I want.
Good point.
I don't want
Good
just
point.
like a
Good point.
general Eagle Scout badge. I want the forensics badge.
Okay, you
So,
continue.
keep
I'll
looking.
fill you in later.
I definitely
I'm
still have
trying.
my. I definitely still have my sash of Girl
Great.
Scouts.
I can make a sash. So, because of these similarities, James Kinney's case was reopened and Sharon was charged with both his murder and Patricia's murder and faced 2 separate trials.
shit!
So first up was the trial for Patricia's murder. So though the case for motive was pretty fucking strong, the prosecution simply could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Sharon ever had the murder weapon, which undermines the means portion of the case against her. Though the man who purchased the new gun for Sharon provided like spent shell casings for ballistics because he like had the gun in his possession and he was like shooting it on his property or something and he had shell casings like in a tree, etc., that were from that gun that he gave her. A match couldn't be confirmed to the casings that were found at the crime scene. So this further called into question if the missing gun was the murder weapon at all. After about 90 minutes of deliberation, the all-male jury returned with an acquittal, saying there were, quote, too many loopholes in the case to convict.
It was the 60s, all male juries.
Oh, yeah. It was, I mean, like,
All
even
male
now.
and all white.
Yeah.
Yes. And even now, it's very hard for juries to convict white women of, like, violent crime. Like, it's just that, it is what it is. But surprise, it fucking happens. Several months later, in January of 1962, Sharon began her second trial for the murder of her husband, James. This time, a juicy tidbit came out that we didn't know before. Sharon's lover, John Cheezitz, claimed that around the time James approached Sharon for a divorce, she asked John, who remember she was sleeping with at the time, if he would kill James for $1,000. The defense worked to undermine this arrangement, quote unquote, by claiming that Sharon was joking when she proposed this. But the prosecution quickly leaned into the life insurance payout, which she could only receive if she were still married to James at the time of his death, and if the death wasn't like a homicide that could be linked to her or a suicide.
Right. It wasn't a murder or a suicide.
Right. I mean, he can be murdered and she can get a payout.
Murder
but
by
if
her.
she murdered him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Her problem was offering John money. She should have just offered him snatch.
Snacks and snacks.
Or like so much money that like it wouldn't be traced to her. Because I feel like $1,000 is kind of a bargain for a murder.
It was the 60s, and you could like build a house for $12,000, but like
still a full murder. I feel like that's kind of low ball.
Oh, it's definitely a lowball offer,
Yeah.
which is probably why in court even like they could not confirm whether or not she was just fucking around.
Yeah.
okay.
Because it was like that's so measly even by the 60s.
So maybe that was her
to
tactic,
murder
either like
someone.
a super low ball.
Right.
Okay, got it.
So, despite the defense referring to the police ruling of accidental homicide and the testimony of friends and family confirming Dana did have access to and experience with guns at 2 years old, Sharon was found guilty in the murder of her husband, James. She was sentenced to life in prison at the Missouri Reformatory for women.
You do not want to be sent to the Missouri Reformatory for women in 1962.
Now,
Or ever?
especially in 62. I'm good.
No thanks.
So, story over, right?
Right?
Wrong.
Right?
You've already
Wrong.
had a twist.
Oh, I have several more. From Wikipedia, quote, a subsequent defense motion requested that the conviction be vacated because the jury, oh, Jesus Christ.
She's on the phone.
No, that's my alarm reminding me to schedule tomorrow's episode. I'll start that sentence over. From Wikipedia, a subsequent defense motion requested that the conviction be vacated because the jury had delivered its verdict based on, quote, surmise and speculation rather than substantial evidence, listing a series of procedural errors that Kinney's counsel alleged had taken place before and during the trial, and these included a juror taking incomplete notes, that would be me as a juror, disputes over Cheez-Itz's testimony, and an incorrect number of potential jurors being provided for selection. So, like, all kinds of things that were not done right.
Lots
Little
of
piddly
piddly
crap.
things. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The motion was denied by Judge Stubbs in April of 1962.
That's what I named
but
my squirrel who lived in my backyard last summer.
Judge Stubbs?
Well, his name was Donnie Stubbs, but I called
Please
him
make
Judge
him a judge
Stubbs.
now.
Oh, he's dead now.
His judgeship
Oh.
is posthumous.
He had a really short tail, and then I saw him flat on our street at one point. So yeah, we gotta get a
dead
new Donnie
bird on our
Donnie
back
Stubbs.
stoop this week after the
We had a funeral for a bird.
Oh, well, also every time I've had a funeral for like an animal that I found, for some reason in my mind, my brain conflates the funeral procession song with like the Star Wars theme song.
instead of like what's
Like-
it called?
Like I feel like I start with the funeral procession and then it just turns into the Star Wars like da 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 da.
Okay, well, that's Darth Vader's theme. That is not the Star Wars theme.
Okay, I've
but
literally never
okay.
seen Star Wars, but okay,
Well, that is your loss. I'm going to continue
I'll
on.
take it.
So, Judge Stubbs denied the motion in April of 1962, but appealed to the Missouri Supreme Court, which in March 1963 reversed her conviction and ordered a new trial on the basis of her defense having been denied adequate preemptory challenges during jury selection in her trial. Kinney was denied an opportunity for bail in 1963 because her baby had already been born. But that ruling was overturned in July, and she was released on $25,000 bond posted by her brother.
Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap.
Snip, snap. So literally, it gets so much worse.
It gets more snip, snappy.
It snips and snaps so many fucking more times. So she was, and I guess her brother paying this bail, maybe there was family money, and that explains
There
how.
is a vast deference.
Vast deference of.
Snip, snap, snip, snap.
Conviction and acquittal. Okay.
Do you know how many acquittals, the toll
It's a vast deference.
that 6 acquittals can have on a person? So she was tried again in March of 1964, which ended in a mistrial due to the notoriety of the case and a failure to properly sequester jurors.
Jesus.
Then she faced trial again in June of 1964. This time, Sharon took the stand for the first time ever. The trial ended in a deadlocked 7-5 jury in favor of acquittal, and a mistrial was declared once again.
No.
A
She's like
trial.
the guilty white Curtis Flower.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Fourth trial was scheduled for October 1964, but Sharon was fucking over it.
As anyone would be. I would
I mean,
just dig my
right?
way
Everyone
up.
just fucking admit to it.
Nope.
She
She
dig my way
hightailed
out
it to
of
Mexico.
prison with a spoon.
She was out. She was out on bail.
She was out on bail, but
okay.
we'll get to the time she escaped from prison.
With a
because that's
spoon?
coming too. So she hightailed it to Mexico with a new lover, Francis Samuel Pugliese, who
Bagliole.
went by Sam Pugsley, who she'd met in Kansas City a few months prior while she was on trial.
How does
Like
this
over
bitch
cocktails.
meet a man while she's on trial for murder of her husband?
I mean, she was out. She's not
was at
in
a
jail
martini
during the
bar
trial.
in Cancun.
No, I know, but I just feel like dating. I mean, I
It's
don't
hard
know
enough.
because I've like basically never dated, but it sounds
Where
hard
do you-
enough.
Where did she find the time?
The 60s /
It was
early
the 60s.
70s.
So she'd met him a few months prior while she was on trial, and the two went to Mexico to get married.
Like a Carrie Underwood
To just
song.
get away from it all.
They just needed a vacay. So while in Mexico, she and Sam allegedly had a fight, and she stormed out of their hotel to get a drink at a nearby bar and cool off. While she was at this nearby bar, she met American expat Francisco Ordonez, and the two struck up a conversation. At some point during their encounter, Sharon complained of a stomachache, and Francisco offered her some water and to lie down at his hotel room.
Please tell me that he's a secret serial killer.
Oh no.
Also, if a strange man at a bar is like, "You look tired, come lay down in my hotel
she was
room."
like, I don't feel well. And he was like, oh, I have a room. Like, do you
Oh.
want to go lie down?
Okay, but also
And she was like,
at a
yes.
they're at just a regular bar. I thought I pictured a hotel bar, and she's like, "I'm so tired. Can I lay down in your room?"
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is also her version of events.
Got it.
And people think that this was something different. So
There's
we'll
no
get to
Doesn't
it.
matter.
Ordonez way
Already
to know.
sounds fishy.
Exactly.
Whatever.
So she agrees to go to his room to have a glass of water and lie down until her stomach feels better. And she starts to feel better and wants to leave, but he makes a pass at her. She pushed him away, and he didn't like that. He proceeded to hit her several times. Again, it's entirely possible, but all of this is also according to her testimony, and her track record's not great. She claimed that he kneed her in the stomach and covered her mouth so that she couldn't scream. She says she managed to wiggle out of his grasp and grab her gun from her purse, firing several shots in his direction, killing him and wounding a hotel employee. Sharon was arrested and charged with murder in Mexico, And the jury did not buy her story and believed the prosecution's theory that she was actually out to rob someone in Mexico to further secure her escape from another trial in the United States. She was sentenced to 13 years in prison in 1965 in Mexico.
In Mexico. So was she trying to evade her murder charges in the U.S. in order to stay in Mexico on lesser charges?
Went to Mexico, killed a guy.
So she seemingly purposely killed somebody, but like in a lesser degree than what she had in the U.S.
Well, and were things to go according to plan, she'd likely serve her sentence in Mexico and then be extradited back to the U.S. once that sentence was up to face the charges that she skipped out on in the United States. But we never got there. Story over, right?
I don't know. I'm fucking burned about
After
this bitch.
4 years in a women's prison in
whiplash.
Mexico, Sharon fucking escaped in 1969. So it was the whole 60s
From
that she was
it-
up to this
She
shit.
escaped from her prison in Mexico?
Yes.
I was
Through
gonna
an
say
unguarded window.
What?
Yes. So some authorities believed her escape was aided by a former Mexican Secret Service agent who had also been a suspect in like a $15,000 like US dollar robbery just before the escape. So it looked like they were in cahoots. He was going to like rob this bank or whatever and then help her get out. And then maybe they were going to run away together.
I'm sure she was plotting, manipulating the whole time.
Probably. But other investigators were like, it was just oversight. Like, at the time she escaped, there were 4 security towers on that day that were just completely unguarded. So it isn't out of the realm of possibility that she just saw an opportunity and like got the fuck out. Like window, no
Both could
people.
be true. She's plotting. She's plotting.
I think she plotted.
Magical opportunity. She takes it.
Yeah.
I mean,
We literally will never know because
but also there's
to
a
this
high
day,
probability of corruption.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that, you know.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's usually the truth falls somewhere in the middle.
What about to this day?
To this day, Sharon has not been found and is believed to still be alive somewhere. There's an age progression of her on the drive. She'd be in her 70s now and maintains, well, probably older, I guess. Late 70s, early 80s, but still very much like possible that she's alive. She maintains.
I just got to your Quincy Adams picture. I was like, oh my God, it's spot on.
It's
Oh
me.
my God, she could literally be anyone. She could
Yeah,
be.
she looks like my grandma.
She could be Lady Bleebird's mom.
Yes, 100%. So she maintains the winning title of longest currently outstanding arrest warrant for murder in the history of Kansas City, Missouri, and one of the longest outstanding felony warrants in American history, period.
Oh my God. Also,
So
a little
Sharon-
She could be anyone.
further
She could be
proof
listening
that, like,
right now.
women do a better job at getting away with things than men. I'm just
Hi,
saying.
Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Hide and seek champion.
You shouldn't have killed anyone.
I'll leave us on this because I promised you wet slits.
Oh.
Her story inspired one of the worst book titles I have ever fucking seen. Quote, Serial Killin' Slut, The True Story of Sharon Kinney, written by Heather Fox, and according to the Amazon reviews that I enjoyed today, it is terrible and riddled with spelling errors.
Heather.
Yeah.
Why would you do
God.
that to your fellow woman, even
Right?
one as awful as this?
And somebody wrote a review that was like, all this woman did, this Heather Fox woman did, is like write down what she watched on the Oxygen special about Sharon Kinney.
Yeah.
Like all of the investigators' quotes were the same quotes from that episode of like Bad Girls or whatever on Oxygen.
Yeah.
Oh,
So this book is the bad. Don't buy it. But that's my case.
Well,
Serial
I mean,
killing apostrophe.
Yeah.
Slut.
you are
Slut.
doing your ancestor John Quincy Adams justice. John Quincy Amanda.
John Quincy Justice.
Amanda Quincy Jacobson.
I love it.
This was, I mean, a long.
It was a roller coaster.
It was a long episode, but I had fun.
I had
We
fun.
did it.
I got drunk. I'm good.
Yeah.
Fucking whatever. Thank you,
Good
Mackenzie
Lord.
Moore. We want more.
Yes.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you, Mackenzie.
It was the 60s.
It was the 60s. It was the 60s. Or the 70s for Kenyon's
Or the
case.
1860s or the year 60 BC.
Okay, we love you all. We'll
See you
talk to
next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.